Hello everyone, welcome to Zarantech Insightful Workday REST API Training. In this comprehensive course, you will gain mastery over leveraging Workday's powerful REST APIs for seamless data integration and workflow automation. We will delve into the fundamentals of REST architecture, authentication mechanisms, and API endpoint structure within Workday's ecosystem. You will learn how to construct robust API requests, handle responses, and troubleshoot errors effectively. With Zarantech's expert guidance and hands-on exercises, you will develop the skills to unlock the full potential of Workday's REST APIs, enabling efficient data exchange, process optimization, and enhanced organizational agility. Let's embark on this journey and elevate your Workday expertise. But before we begin, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to receive regular updates from us. Now, let us take a look at the agenda. 1. API concept. 2. Introduction to Workday, REST API. 3. Fundamentals of REST API. 4. API methods. 5. Data extraction in Workday. Let's dive into the video now.
Okay, how Workday actually is made. Okay, that's the first thing. Like we read any ERP technology made, be Salesforce made, be PeopleSoft made, be any other technology I'm talking about. We need to know the fundamental architecture of that tech. If you're coming from SAP background, or if you're coming from PeopleSoft, you're coming from Oracle. So in all these background, we were really familiar with RDBMS, or we would say a relational database, in which we used to have a database management system. It may be a Oracle database, so it may be a 11G database or something like that, where tables are there already there. So tables are there, so we directly insert data into table. We get data from table using SQL statements. We also create PLSQL we also create PLSQLs, write PLSQLs for those. Similarly, there are other databases like IBM DB2. All these are there. That is not there with Workday. Okay, so Workday doesn't have a database vendor like technology like PeopleSoft used to have a database. Now, this was an added advantage for Workday itself also, because removing a database partner or a vendor from everything from that actually helps the client save money. So if I am having a database, I need to keep a database administrator. I need to have a server room. I need to maintain that server room. I need to have a team to see that if database, it's a maintenance extra being added, right? So client always wants that less maintenance is done from our side. Okay. So Workday says you don't need to think on database. Okay. You don't need to care about your data being not secured. I will store all the data. So it's the data centers that they store in. Workday does have a structural architecture that we will go through, and it does not have a database primarily. Okay. When I say it does not have a database primarily, you must always ask me a question that where is data stored then? Okay. That's the only answer. So they have their own data centers. Okay. In which data is stored. Okay. Now, in which form data is stored, whether it is stored in table or whether it's stored in a concept of, let's say, big data or something like that, Workday has not revealed that yet. Okay. But the extraction of data, Workday has said that I will tell you how to extract data. Okay. Now I'll tell how it can be done. Okay. You can extract the data, but in my architecture, I would not exactly. That's the Workday developer thing, that where data is stored means are they using a PostgreSQL, or are they using a big data or something like that to store unstructured data, structured data. So that is a Workday kind of. It's a Workday. I would say it's a Workday mechanism of working. So that's the. So I'll go through that architecture. The rest, how data is extracted in Workday. Okay. Or like, I'll just give you a very simple example. Okay. I'll not use big terms. I'll just give you a simple example that, let's say you want to extract worker information which is stored in Workday. This is a common thing, demographic information like first name, last name, address, or something like that. Okay, you need to extract this information from Workday. Now, when I say Workday, you imagine a Workday tenant also, right? So where you log in, go inside, and when you log in, and where you see the data, employee profile. And from that employee profile, you actually want to extract those information somewhere. Okay, I don't know where you're extracting, but somewhere you want to extract and keep it. Now in Workday, okay, the extraction of data is possible only through APIs. Okay, you need to know what is an API first. Okay, what is a REST? What is a SOAP? You cannot just know REST without knowing a SOAP. You need to know API. Before API, you need to also know webs. So coming back to this is how to extract data from Workday. The answer would be how to extract those demographic information. The answer would be that I need to actually have an API, or I need to have a REST API. REST API means a URL, I would say, simply a URL from which I can request something to that URL. I'll send a request to that URL. Let's say I'm saying that URL, give me Chitra's data. Would say something like this, but there would be a request. It may be in the form of XML. Give me Chitra data. With a proper security being given to me. Like I cannot directly, like a third person cannot directly go to Workday and just ask the data, right? I should have a proper security uh, uh, security thing assigned to me, right? Either I do authorize myself using a basic authentication by having an username and a password and then sending my request to that URL, or either it has to be OAuth authentication that we say generally. When I ask your information, Workday sees that, okay, it's a request came to this URL. Now, in response, it will give you a whatever data you asked. Whatever data you asked. This is how data can be extracted. This is what you did. You got the data to yourself, right? You get, means it's a get thing that you did. Means you got the data. How to put back the data? Same thing that you all request to a URL, okay, and you insert the data. When I say you want to get the data of a worker, you have to use web services like, I will explain you again this, okay, don't worry. I'm just giving a heads up, like get web services which are which are prefixed by get would actually get the data from Workday. Which data can they get from Workday? Like if you see the name generally gives you an information on what kind of data this web services will actually get. Government IDs, get change means get change legal name, get change licenses, getting information, get community, get all these are get employee, getting an employee information, get employee images, getting employee images. So these are all information. Again, these are all information. These are all web services, okay, which has Workday has given us this web services and get any information that you need. Locations, it may be any information. Now I am specifically talking about worker. That's why I am inside a section of human resources. If I will talk payroll, I would go inside payroll section. Okay, now I am in human resources. But if I will talk about, I want to get employees payroll information data, so I have to go inside this payroll section. Okay, I have to go inside this payroll section and I have to again get all the web services which are there available in Workday for them. Okay, payroll results, uh, whatever it is, get period schedules, depends on whatever my need is. Okay, whatever my client requirement is, whatever my need is, it will give me everything which is there. First I need to and make you understand that this is a SOAP request. Okay, so many people are confused on what is a REST and what is a SOAP. Both are type of methods. Okay, I'll just show you. It's a very simple thing that I got from one of a guy on LinkedIn. I just downloaded it. It's a very simple thing. Okay, REST API fundamentals. Basically, I won't teach you line by line, but I would want you to go through this. It's just a 5-page thing, but it explains us like what is an API first. Okay, for API means application programming interface, like it is said. Okay, that's fine. But what does API do? Simple words. Okay, API allows interaction between system by following a set of standards and protocols in order to share data. That's it. It is just a set of standards, okay, and protocols. That's it, by which we can share data information. That's it. That's the work of API. Now, through API, what we can do, we can exchange data through different mediums. Okay, mobile, gaming, different. Now, when I talk about REST APIs, so REST in itself means that representational state transfer. Okay, it is an architecture style. Okay, now understand REST is nothing. Okay, it is an architecture style to it is an architecture style to develop web application. Okay, use HTTP protocol as a communication. So basically, this is my client. Okay, let's say this is my client. This is the data. REST API is in middle. Okay, it's like a communication interface. HTTP protocol, which uses the HTTP protocol to interact between your. That's what at the end you're doing, right? You're trying to extract data. You're trying to insert data. REST is a medium. Okay. Now, how do you access REST? REST is you basically have a now. Whenever I say REST, you have a URL in mind. So URL is basically when I say URL, now that's the first thing that URL for its a full form is Uniform Resource Locator. It's an address. It is the address to not just identify a resource, but also specify how to access address of the resource. Okay, from where I need to extract my data. When I was saying this, when I was actually saying this, I can get information. Okay, from here. See, I can get information from this SOAP web services. You didn't notice, but there was a location also written above, and this is the URL. Okay, this is the resource from where I actually have to go and extract my information. So it's the same thing they are talking about. It's an address to not just identify a resource, but also to specify how to access it. The URL can be named as a base URL, which means that is a base, that is the base URL that will be used in every request. So it is just a so this is just a URL. Okay. So in this case, this is the URL. Okay, till here is a URL. Now you will say why the whole thing is not a URL. I'll tell you. Okay, URL is something. So when you this is the URL. Okay, this is the URL, and there is a URI also. URI basically specifies that it is used in the URL to specify which resource the client would like to access in the request. I am trying to access human resources. Change to payroll, any payroll web service. If I'll just try to extract any payroll web service, as soon as I go to payroll, everything remains same except this. Now, if I show you both the URL, see, till here everything is same. Okay, payroll changes, your human resources comes. Okay, this part which changes. Okay, it is a URI. It is used in the URL to specify which resource the client would like to access in the request. Accessing a human resource section. Now I'm accessing a payroll section. So example also it has been given, which resource he is trying to access. Here the client communicates to the server that the request is to retrieve product with the name equal to laptop and availability equals to true. Similar to us, in the real-time example that I showed you, I'm trying to access human resources, and in second case, I'm trying to access payroll. That's a URL. Now URI is clear to you. Body of a request. Now, when I say body is like we used to send information to that REST. Okay, like if I open a Postman, I don't know Postman from which we can get and post some data. So basically, if I am saying this is a URL and I'm saying this is a get, what I do generally, if there is a post or there is a get, in case of post, I'm not talking in case of get. Okay, I would generally send a request. Okay, to update. Request to update. So that is nothing. That is a body. There is API methods. Like I said, get, post, put, patch. Okay, get is to get the resources. Post is to create there something. Put is to update thing you want to update there. Delete is to actually delete. Patch is to modify the API resource. Okay, so get is getting, post is inserting, put is update, patch is modification. Let's close this. Let's go back to Workday. Whenever you hear a term of a REST and you hear a term of a SOAP, always remember REST and SOAP are two architectural styles. Okay, in REST you generally send data through URL. There is data being sent through URL. You are sending here. Always remember. sending through URL. Means every information we are giving is through the on the URL. Top available true. Every information given where on the URL, and we are sending that information to the resource. Means okay, we are sending this information to the so similarly, let's say if I'm doing a login, Facebook login. Okay, let's say I'm doing a Facebook login in a REST method. So here would be my username and password equals to something my password. Understand this. If there is an unethical person sitting somewhere and he get logs of my network, or if he hacks into my network and he hacks into this communication between my system and the resources where I'm trying to request, so he can bar in and he can come and he can actually decrypt that REST URL. Or if he can, I would not say it's an encrypted data always. Some like if he gets a catch of that REST, so he can possibly he can decrypt that data and he can access the information that we are trying to get. It will go to the part of the URL itself if there is a REST. If there is a SOAP, it will always go through it will always go through a SOAP wrapped envelope. I will tell you what is that. So whenever there is a request being sent, it is always wrapped inside an envelope. There is always, so this is not a REST request. When I say you, this is not a REST request. This is a SOAP request that is. Now, why this is? Because this is more safer in nature. Okay, but yeah, REST are generally faster in nature. The SOAP are less faster, I would say. Now, in which conditions in Workday you can go ahead and use a REST and a SOAP differs. Okay, if I'm trying to, so I don't know if you are. I'll just give you some, tell you some studio terms. If I'm trying to access a custom report in Workday Studio, like I have a requirement, I need to get data from a custom report in the tenant. Generally, what a component that I use inside a studio, generally, okay, not always, is a REST component. Okay, Workday out REST. It's a component basically which gives a REST call to a custom report. So I'm just talking now. This is this Workday Studio. Okay, this Workday Studio is generally used to make integrations. Okay, generally used to make integrations in depending on whatever integration types we have. So now there is a requirement. Okay, there is a requirement. Now this requirement is that I want to get a data, like I have created a custom report. So you are familiar with what a custom report is, right? So a custom report which gives all the employee demographic details. Okay. I am creating an integration which will create a file, okay, which will create a file which has the demographic details and which will send it to the vendor. Okay, but to create that file, I need to get the data. Now I am creating that integration in Workday Studio. This is the platform that you are seeing in front of your screen. So I want to create that integration over here. Okay, so I need to call that custom report and get the data of that custom report in my Workday integrations. And from there, the data, I will use some other mechanism to convert that data into an CSV and then use a file and just form a comma separated file and just send it to the worker. Method that I will use. But the first question is, how do I call this custom report from my studio? Studio is sitting somewhere locally in my machine, working somewhere in cloud. First thing that I do is I set up a connection between Workday and my studio by this Cloud Explorer that you see. Okay, I actually connect a tenant from here. Once that is done, I would use a component. There is a component known in Workday Studio. There is a component which is known as Workday out REST. Okay, in Workday, and this basically takes the parameter as custom report. Means it will ask you path of a custom report. What is the component used? This component generally calls the report URL the best way. So meaning is, I'm just saying custom report. So whatever you are passing to this, let's say name equals to Chitra, and I'm just saying date of birth equals 0101 1990, something like this. Okay. Now, when I'm passing, now this custom report is nothing but this is a path of the custom report. I have not written it clearly, but this would be the actual path of a custom report. Which custom report you're trying to call? and what data you want the custom report to give. Okay, so I'm passing a parameter name Chitra and DOB. So this would be passed to the custom report, and it will give me only your data. If I don't want anything, I can just leave it blank and it will give every other data. Okay, through REST, what I'm doing is through REST. Okay, I'm getting all the data. Okay, this is one method of extracting data from Workday, which is in a REST form. If in a form I am doing same thing, I will use the component Workday out SOAP. In this, basically the request I have to so to send the request to this component, I have to create a wrapped SOAP XML and then call the component. So that a wrapped SOAP XML means something like this, an XML something like this, and then call this component so that this component gives me back a response.
Got it.
A small difference. I know these are much maybe familiar components, maybe not. Okay, don't worry on that part. But if you're talking on understanding REST and SOAP in Workday, so you need to have an information on Workday Studio. That's a must. Okay. Why I'm saying you this? Because if you don't understand Workday Studio, okay, you would not understand how REST and SOAP are working. I can make you understand in a very vague manner. I can show you a custom report. I can show you a REST and I can show you SOAP, something like this, and that will be over in just one class or two. But if you want to deeply understand that how we are actually going ahead and inserting data in Workday, how we are extracting data in Workday, this can be only possible when you properly understand how we do that using a Workday Studio. So in Workday Studio, okay, like Workday Studio is an I would say Workday Studio is I would say it's a framework over Eclipse, okay, where we design integrations. Okay, just don't think on like I am not just doing REST and SOAP things here. Okay, I am designing my integrations. Okay, when I'm saying integrations, what do you mean by integration? There are some tasks. Okay, like you have some jobs in PeopleSoft, those are called jobs. In Workday, in Workday, you have integrations to exchange data between two systems. To communicate between Workday and ADP wants to communicate between each other. Okay, Visual Studio generally generates an executable which can be used by everyone or something. Integrations in Workday, what you develop here is deployed inside tenant. Here, whatever you're developing, okay, here whatever you're developing, it is deployed inside the tenant, and actually the vendor or the end users are actually launching your integration inside the tenant only, and that's where they're utilizing all the features of Workday there inside the tenant. In general, when you go ahead and build a do a real-time integrations, these are one of the ways of like client want to extract the data of workers. But generally, the client who want to get the data of worker are in different manner. In Workday, I'll tell you how it is. Like they want the changes on the data. Whatever worker is getting changed every day. Like for an example, I'm just saying that only give me fire this URL every day, but only give the information of the workers who were terminated yesterday and today. Okay, give me only information on workers who were like had a payment election changed, who had a bank information changed. Give me information of all the workers who were hired between this period. Okay, all this information. If you just want to get through a web server, you just want to get through a URL, it is not possible. For that, Workday has created some integrations, which is known as core connectors and different other things. I am giving a requirement. Okay, tell me how it can be possible just using a Postman. Okay, just a requirement. Okay, so the requirement is there is an employee ABC. Okay, there is an employee ABC who gets a yearly bonus. Okay, let's say $100. I'll just say. So this bonus would be a one-time bonus. Okay, because bonuses are generally one time. Okay, and he gets it in the month of March 2023. So now basically this bonuses are a vendor file would be sent to us. Now this is being sent by some other system, like okay, some other system are keeping this bonus track. Okay, this bonus has to be updated inside Workday. Workday is a repository of everything. Okay, understand this. Now this bonus has to be updated. So what this vendor system is doing, they are sending me a file, okay, .csv file. I'm just saying that, okay, .csv file in which employee ID is there. I'm just saying, comma, his deduction code is there. Okay, let's say deduction code. Okay, earning code I would say, not deduction, because he's getting paid. Okay, and let's say date is there when he's getting paid, and that's it. I am just giving a small file where here there would be ABC written, here there would be, and amount would also be there. Sorry for that. And amount would also be there. So let's say that he's getting paid. The earning code that he's getting paid is, let's say, WEF. That would be an earning code that will come inside the earning, and the date would be, let's say, 0101, not 01, 0 mm is Y, DD, MM, and YY, and there will be $100. Let's say, okay. This has to be loaded inside workers pay input. Now, what do you mean by workers pay input? Okay, I can just show you that. I'll go back to community again. Okay, I'm just showing you a tenant. Okay, so we can actually, Workday also gives us a tenant to practice here also. Okay, if you go here and if you go to shared demonstration tenants, if you click on this, it will actually give you all different kind of tenants. Okay, so I'm just opening one of the shared tenants. I'm just opening this tenant. Let's see, it should be working. Great, it's working. So let's take example of this guy employee only, that is Logan McNeil. Okay, Logan McNeil is a person for which I want to give a yearly bonus to her. Okay, a yearly bonus. Okay, now I've got a file in which Logan McNeil data is there. My task, okay, I'll tell you what is my task. My task is to update the data over her pay input. Okay, there will be a pay input here. Okay, there will be a pay input here. And I have to update the data like Logan McNeil start date would be 01/01/2023, 01/03/2023, the pay component. Now it's a one time, I'll say this is a one time. I will give an amount and I will give $50 or something like this. And this would be my task. Okay, just to update a row here. An extra row should be added here, as I would see very this. Okay, here a complication comes. The vendor says that start date should be the employee's pay period in progress. Okay, the employee would be inside a pay period, whatever pay period it says there. The start date would be an employee pay period in progress. Okay, now coming back to few minute things. Okay, there will be, let's say, 6 or 7 files. Okay, there should be 6 or 7 files. 6 or 7 employees. Let's say 7 employees got bonuses. Okay, I'm just taking example of one. 7 employee got bonuses. Okay, first we have to, there are few checks. Okay, few checks that those employee in the files, whether those employee exist in Workday or not. That's the thing that I also need to, my first thing I need to check that before loading. Okay, it may happen, a bad employee can come. It may happen. Okay, a terminated employee should not be processed. A terminated employee whose termination is after the pay period start date should not be processed. So let's say my pay period start date is 1st of January and the employee got terminated on 3rd of January. He should not be processed there. Okay, and an audit file also. Audit file generally would tell me that whether this employee got successfully loaded. So I can load this employee, right? I can load this employee. I'm a technical person. Okay, I can understand. Okay, a response came to me from a web service, and I can understand. Okay, this got loaded because there is a response coming in this node. Okay, a business person, if he's running an integration coming here and he's running an integration with the assumption that if I send this integration a file, it would update data in the tenant. Okay, a business person. Okay, and if I'm not giving him that whatever integration is running, and if I'm not giving him a generated file at the end which writes in a very simple language that okay, this file you sent, it got loaded, this file you sent, it didn't got loaded because this was the issue with this file, or this file this was a terminated employee, correct this employee, go and correct this employee in the tenant. This employee was an invalid employee, so go back and check with the vendor whether why this employee was sent. So business person won't understand that way. So proper auditing can be only done via integration. Business logic can be done only via integration. Only insertion of data or extraction of data is just not Workday. Also, as the business resides inside Workday. It's a Workday is an ER, so you never deploy directly on productions. Okay, you never do directly on productions. A production copy is there on sandbox. Okay, so whenever there is an issue coming in production, so whenever an implementation happen, okay, in Workday, the implementation does not directly go to production. Implement there are multiple tenants. Okay, it start with the first implementation tenant. Okay, something known as where you actually go ahead and implement your integrations. You test your integrations. Once that is done, there is another type of tenant which is known as end-to-end tenant. There you actually do your end-to-end testing of your integrations. Once that is passed, you go to third tenant, which is known as pay parallel tenant. Okay, every payroll integration is tested in that tenant. Once that is done, all the integrations are migrated to sandbox tenant. Okay, once that is done, SIT or UAT tenant. Okay, and once that is done, then production migration happens. And in support, let's say in support, still there are issues coming. So there is Workday always refreshes itself and every Saturday and keeps a production copy there in sandbox. Okay, if there is a problem coming, let's say with any integrations or so you can always test this integration in sandbox, like recreate the issue there, and once that is fixed, and again redeploy back your integration to production using proper migration, and there would be a change management system. One day, oh sorry, one thing or like one way of doing that is you have all the web services extract all the data. This is a technical way. Okay, this is a technical way. Now you can, or like I don't know where you want to store this data first. Flat file. Okay, so backup of tenants is possible in Workday. First thing is we can create backups of tenant in Workday. Okay, whether you can store all this data in flat file or not, still not confirmed. Refresh. So what is happening there? A copy of everything is going, right? So whether you did anything in sandbox, you changed the employee name also in sandbox. Okay, next Saturday you come and you will see the employee name is back to whatever it is there in production or old name. Okay, so what has happened is like you just replicated, you just dumped your data back to sandbox. Okay, but this is just possible through tenant to tenant. Okay, your requirement is that I want to get all the data and store it in a flat file. The only way of doing this can be a web service. When you say flat file, you have to create an integration in order to create, like if you are saying web service, okay, like if I'll just say get worker web service will give you all worker information. It will still be on a response would be still in the form of XML only, right? And you want that XML to be converted somewhere. Like there will be a Workday developer sitting on your side, right? On your company side. Okay. You just need to tell this guy, okay, create me an ISU. Okay, integration system user, it is known as. Okay, create me an ISU, which is your username, which would be a username. Give this ISU all the access to give this ISU all the access. When I say all the access means to get data of any domains. Just give me this access. It's or and get me this ISU and get me the make me a password, get the password of it, and just fire it from Postman, and you can get every data from Workday. I would like I would write this in steps. Okay, the first job would reach out to uh, reach to reach to Workday guy and tell him to create ISU. Okay, he would understand integration system user. Tell him to create ISU, which has all access of domains in Workday. Additionally, I'm writing similarly to implementer access. Now, what is an implementer in Workday? Basically, the implementer is a user in Workday which has all the access. Okay, so he cannot give you implementer access because for that you have to request to Workday. But what he can do, he can replicate whatever access implementer has to whatever user he's creating. Okay, and he will try to replicate the access whatever he has to your to this user, and he will give you this user information and password to you so that you can access any other resources, any resources in Workday. ERP is not generally so open source that it will give you all other information. Okay, just first all things, there are many information that is sensitive information. It keeps, it will not give you every other information. So that's why you don't have every other web services to extract every other data. I don't have access to extract compensation data or employee national identification data. So it's based on how a ERP is built. This is how an ERP is built in itself, that it won't give you all the information or all the data because of the way it is built. It's more of a business rather than more of a being on a technical side. So if you want to get all the data from Workday into your system in a flat file, again I'm saying, when you're saying in a flat file through web services, it is possible. One web service doing all this is not there, still available in Workday. They have not created something like that, where there is just one web service named as all.workday.com and gives you every other information on employee source. It is still not there. Let's John, I need all the payroll information. Okay, so John will tell you, okay, this is the web service which can do that, because he is knowing the web service name, which will give you all the data of payroll. There is a concept of business objects in Workday. So all these custom objects are actually made on worker only, right? Means it is telling information of a worker. It is not telling information on worker payroll, right? So if you fire get worker, so it will also give you custom object information if you have permission to access that custom object details. Like if you have access to see this data, there's a security group tied to this. Okay, see this data, so you can get worker only. So there is a web service for getting all this custom information also. Get other means custom information also. I'll give you this exact web service name.
Attention all tech enthusiasts. Are you eager to unlock the power of Workday's REST API? Look no further. Our comprehensive Workday REST API course is here to equip you with the skills you need to master this powerful tool. In this self-paced course, you will delve into the intricacies of Workday's REST API, unlocking a world of seamless integration and automation possibilities. From creating and updating records to retrieving data and executing complex business processes, our course covers it all. Our expert instructors have meticulously crafted a curriculum that combines theoretical knowledge with hands-on exercises, ensuring you gain practical experience every step of the way. Whether you're a developer, an IT professional, or simply someone looking to streamline your organization's workflows, this course is tailored to your needs. But don't just take our word for it. Our satisfied students rave about the clarity of our explanations, the depth of our content, and the invaluable insights they've gained through this course. Invest in your professional growth today and gain a competitive edge in the ever-evolving world of HR technology. Our course offers unbeatable value, providing you with a comprehensive learning experience at an affordable price. Visit Zarantech's website below for full details on the training, including course outline, instructor profiles, and pricing information. Unlock the power of Workday's REST API and take your skills to new heights.
Coming back to studio now, I knew that okay, now it's an implementation tenant. What next I did, I clicked on this drop down, this black icon. Yeah, I just concentrated on implementations. Okay, now how I knew I have to select WD2, not WD102. Let's say. So if you now this is just based on experience, that if you go to your tenant again, okay, sorry, if you go to your tenant again, go back to your just click on this Workday icon, this one. So this implworkday.com, okay, whatever this URL is about and the top. Now this basically corresponds to, if you go to Studio, this basically corresponds to, can you click on this implementation again? This basically corresponds to WD2 tenant type. If you select WD3, let's click on WD3, okay? Let's click on this. Just click on this. So whenever, so if the tenant type is WD3, WD3 would be written on the URL of the browser. In the browser, there will be written as WD3. As of now, you don't have a WD3 written. It is not written. Some clients have an additional setting of that I would, the user just not have to be verified through username and password, but he has to also pass this token step. Now, in this case, we have to generate a token here. Okay. For this, all these things we have to pass. From where do we pass this? From the tenant only. We get all these information. All these information when we pass, we will. So this, if you just write API clients, that's the task, I guess. View API clients, the last one, last. So there will be an API client there. So they have created. So they have created some. Okay, for login there will be an API client. Okay, for your tenant it is not required as of now. Okay, now if you see at the top, REST endpoint, token endpoint, authorization endpoint, you see at the top those are URLs given. These URLs, if you just go back to your studio, so similar, like first you have to, now client ID, from where you will get the client ID, you will get. So there will be an API client created especially for login. Okay, from there, like let's say an API client would be created for login, and when you click on this API client, any of the API client, you will get a client ID from there. Okay, not from here, that won't have. Yeah, exactly. From you see there is a client ID here. This is auto-generated from Workday. So Workday does that. Let me explain in a simple way what we are doing here. You are creating an API. You are creating a client. Okay. You are basically creating a client which will allow authorization to other users to your tenant. For an example, you check into the hotel, right? What the authorization is given, like the key card is given to you, right? And then you press that key card to your door, the door opens. So that key card has a token inside it. Okay, just assume that way. That's an authorization. When you press it against the door, that door is nothing but the Workday tenant, and it authorizes you. Okay, that you have a key card, you have that token inside it, and you enter the tenant. This user is created here. A client is created here. Okay, and which has a client ID, and which is used to create token. And this token can be refreshed. Okay, as in like you cannot. If you have the key card even 10 days after, and you cannot go after 10 days and just open the door again of that hotel, right? So that's how the refresh token work. So let's say the token is just valid for 2 days. So after 2 days, again, the token has to be created. So that's what you have to do in Workday Studio. The token has to be created, regenerated again, so that you again get an authorization to go inside Workday. So it's an additional mechanism. Auth 2.0 is applicable just not in Workday. It's applicable everywhere where there is a security thing, where there is a security, where there is a security thing has to be done. So let's go to the web service part. So how do you traverse there is you have to click on Windows. That's the top. If you just see there's a file navigator, correct? Now from here you have to go to show view. From here you have to go to Schema Explorer. Yeah, it opens the Schema Explorer. So basically it was already opened. It is on the right hand side. It was initially opened at the start. Basically it is not open. You can just close it. We'll try from start. Yeah, close our process details also. Like process details is there. Close that also. Clipboard history, close it. Yeah, close this also. Yeah. Show view, Schema Explorer. It'll open on the right. Yeah. Here, if you see here on the Schema Explorer. Yeah. Click on this. Same thing now comes up. Okay, which you were looking at. So human resources. Go to click finish. Finish. Now click on there. Correct. Again, click there. These are the web services we were talking about. All the web services we'll have. Let's try get workers. Scroll down. Yeah, there it is. Scroll down. Scroll. Yeah. Right click. You can go. Yeah. Right click. Open SOAP wrapped request in a web service. Yeah. Tester. So it'll open an additional. Okay. To maximize it, what you can do, you can just double click on WS tester. There's a WS tester written at the top. If you see, I'm marking it. Yeah, double click here, and you minimize it. Same thing. You can double click it and minimize. Okay. Okay. Now Workday always gives you original request. You have to fill in the data. Okay. What I have given you is the finalized request. Okay. So you can just copy my request and just paste it here. Whatever request I gave you. Now, how did I arrive at this request from the request that has been given from Workday, right? How I knew that only these things are required, not everything is required. Yeah. Now see, whenever if you see a request, okay, whatever last time what we were doing, we were just clicking on this XML and then XML was opening to us. Okay. So see, now whenever you are looking at this, what were we were doing next? Like previously we were just clicking on this and an XML was opening to us, right? An XML was opening to us. Let me clear everything first here. Okay. An XML was opening to us. Remember this, okay? Whenever I click on this request, it takes me down somewhere. Okay, see, I'm just clicking on this and it is redirecting me below. When I see below, these are the request parts only. Like if you see in the web service request, the original request I'm talking about, you see request criteria, right? I'm just talking about one node. Similarly, if I go here, I see a request criteria. If I click here, inside request criteria, whatever those nodes would be, they would be named as a parameters here. If I just go to Workday Studio again, transaction log criteria, say let's say organization reference or something like that, those are all given as parameters here. Okay, organization reference. Okay, because inside this also there will be values. Okay, those are we fell inside this. Now let's go to the main question, that how did I knew that I have to delete? Let's say if I have this original request, let's say I have to delete. Even if I delete this, okay, this transaction log criteria till node till here. Let's say this is the starting, this is the ending node. This request would work. I know if even if I delete this, this would work. How do I know this? Because there is something known as cardinality, which is given at the right hand side of it. Cardinality. Important to remember that whenever there is a 0 to 1 cardinality or 0 to 0 cardinality or 0 to star cardinality, that's not a required field. Okay, so where do I find that 1 to 1 cardinality? Okay, now let's say if I go to the request part only. Okay, I'm also going to request reference. I'm just going to the top. If I see here worker reference, okay, if I have this worker request reference, now if I'll just go to the top, if I should have this, let's say I went to request criteria, okay, and now I'm going to request reference. Now if I'll just go here again to here, we have something known as request reference also. See, this is the request reference. Now let's say if I have this in my web service, now this in itself is a optional one. If you see request reference, it's an optional one. Okay, 0 to 1 cardinality generally means it's an optional one. Now, but if I have this, like if I have this section in my web service, it directs me here. See, it directs me here. It has a worker reference that has 1 to star cardinality, that 1 is to 1, or we can say 1 is to 1 cardinality. So in this case, worker reference would be a required one. Okay. Now, if I have this section and I don't pass a worker, let's say if I have this section and if I try to remove this, okay, if I try to remove this and fire my web service, it'll give me an error. Request reference is a required one. So now, how did I arrive to that? Now, as in when you will use the web services more and more and more, you realize knowing later. Okay, like I know using so much of web services, I know that field reference is not required. I can remove it because I have been using it many a times. So you'll know that, okay, this is a required one, this is not a required one. Again, you can always have a link, you can always check it here, but this is more of a lengthy process that you go through. Okay. So in worker reference, you have a worker object. If you click on worker object, it will again direct you here. Okay. ID, if you click on Workday ID, it will again direct you here. Now this is a one-to-one cardinality where you have to pass the employee ID. So basically, you have to pass this employee ID when I'm talking about this. Have this section altogether. Now, in coming back to our request, now coming back to our request, this is the smaller request. I'll just paste it here. Oh, sorry. Request criteria, you have to give it. If you no, nothing is must. Request criteria, but if you do not give anything, you will have to have a body, right? So I am giving a request criteria because I want to exclude inactive workers. Click on here. If you go here, this is the original request. Okay. Now, whenever you go to request criteria, here you see, right? Inside this, there will be something like, let me open it here. You see this? It is written there. Same thing I've done here. So And response filter is basically what in response you want. Now, for this, I have to why it is page one count 999. I have to explain you something known as we used to read about paging, right? Now, this is this web service follows this get web services. Okay, I'm just talking about get web services. Get web services basically extract data from tenant, correct? So it depends when you are extracting data from tenant. Okay, the volume can be very huge. Okay, like if I'm talking about clients like Walmart, and if you just fire a get web service for that, without an employee ID, it will try to extract 10 lakh employees. Okay, at a time. So in that case, you will the get web service might fail. Okay, basically what it does, so all the get web services has a paging mechanism inside it. Okay, it works like it works pages by pages. Okay, so when I say page one count 999 means first page will have count 999, second page would have, so it's just like a paging that we follow. Okay, I am doing a thing of just to see the response. I'm just doing a 10. Okay, then it may response may not come to us. Okay, so that way I'm just doing it. So what I'll do, I'll again always check this location should not be blank. Okay, it even took your ID. Okay, it even took your authentication. Where do you find that authentication? If you want to change that also, always see here security enabled. There is an option of configure. When you click on this configure, this is what you have entered. Okay, this is being added automatically, don't worry. Okay, this is what is being entered. Now this is what you have to actually fire from Postman also. Okay, from Postman you have to actually give username at the rate your tenant name and the password. This whole studio as a Postman only, big Postman. Okay, and if you fire next, give a, now this is send in progress is happening here on, this is given a 10 count. Okay, so if you just see, these are all worker details that we have on the right hand side. So I'm talking about license ID, passport ID, okay, custom IDs, address data, whatever the, so all these things, position type, management levels of a worker. The one which this ID has an access for. If it does not have to has the access of compensation, so I don't see compensation related data over here. It may happen that we do not have to way to access compensation. Okay, but I'm not able to see comp data. So I think this ID does not have access to. So this is how the request is created. This is how the response is created. I forgot to tell you. So it is not having compensation. So two things can be there. It does not have a compensation request access, or I have not said here to include compensation. So see here. Okay. Now where do I find this? In the response group. Okay. My mistake, I didn't told you that. So in the response group, if I can directly go here rather than this, just click here. In the response group, if you see, include
the response group is what you want, right?
What you want exactly. So if you set that as true, so I didn't set anything as true. So now I have set to include compensation also. If still now compensation does not comes, it is a access issue. If it comes, then it was a request. It won't give any error. Now let's see if we are getting compensation related information now. This is the worker status employee. Now we are getting it right. Whole section that we have, and just paste it here. Paste it here. Control V, and just give it. It'll give you everything that you want. Compensation, whatever it is, whatever the time tracking it, but it will take some time because you are trying to extract everything. It will try to take some time. Same thing you want to do with Postman. Control A, Control C. Okay, same thing. Now what I did here, I'll just do. We'll come to Postman here, and we'll just give a body, and we'll just give a raw XML form. And now, as you have already authenticated, we'll just do a send. Invalid username and password. I said you why the tenant name that we need to give. So that would be, I'll just copy it from here directly everything. Control C, Control V, and We have, let's say we just verify, let's verify our, let's do few things. Let's control A, control C here, control A, control V. Wait. So one thing I can guess is, let me go to your tenant and actually I have to see this Workday account. So what was this user again? Logan Neil, I guess. Okay. View Workday account. Sorry, edit Workday. I won't edit anything. I'm just seeing what all access is being given. LM. Just want to see the. That's what I'm seeing. Why it should not? It is not working. Everything is fine. Separate random. That is fine. Okay. All this is. Let's go to Postman. What we are doing a post we are doing. We are not doing a get here because again, if you do a get here, the request cannot be found. And why these headers? 10 headers are there. Why can't I see them? This authorization is having this. Let me copy this first. Create a token. Let me create the database. Use variables. Whatever I'm just copying it everything. Control C. Oh, it's not allowed there. It's not allowed. Control Z. Let me do one thing. Okay, give me a minute. I have to see show from here. I'll copy this. I'll tell you about this. Don't worry. Let's see. Same thing. Same issue. Headers. 10 hidden headers. What is this? Content type is text plain. Here it's just changing that. It's mostly part of config, I guess. Should work. Text. It was text, right? Text. It's not allowing me to change. It was text, right? Application. Let's go to text. Let's go to authorization again. We had it here. Control C. Invalid request because of this. So see, this is a third-party tool only. It's an ID. Whatever we are doing here, we are doing same thing there. But basically, this is more configured per se, I would say. This is less configured. Just thinking on this is the issue of the Postman only, that something is going wrong here. That's what we need to find out what it is, because it should not give us an error at least. Invalid username and password. Let me do one thing. Let me just do. Have to check once that. This is correct password. So all this, like it shows us here also. So I'm just trying to see whether I'm hitting Workday or even or not. So I'm not even hitting Workday because it should give us an invalid session here somewhere. 13.5. No problem with the URL, I guess. So same URL we are sending here also. Same thing. The problem it's not hitting Workday. I don't know why. It's like it should give us an invalid authentication or something like this. At least something like that. But it is not even doing that. That's so, let it be. Can we download SOAP? Because again, this will also work, but I don't want that. Why it is not working here? We have to waste our time to look this, because if it is working here, it should not have a problem there. Something on the Postman we have to alter on the settings or something. Till the time we can just download SOAP, I can just. Download ready. Yeah. Just remove that. Yeah. I don't know why it is not. Give anything else? Yeah. Just start. Yeah, it will be a trial because this is generally under trial if you don't have it. This is not like Postman that. So yeah, till the time it is being is happening through here only. I'll tell you this. Yeah, I got it. Now I remember that also. How incremental? I'm just talking on get workers. Okay. So if you open the web service of get workers, okay, this transaction, I'll just copy this and keep it somewhere else, and because I have to explain you this only. So if you see this, you have to enter a dates here. Okay, you have to enter dates here. Okay. Now, whatever dates you enter here, okay, incremental data. Now I'll tell you what do you mean by this. Suppose a worker, okay, I'm just taking a worker example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, worker ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This worker is a future hire. Worker is a future hire. I'll give you all examples. This worker is a future hire. What your um, what your client has said you that even future hire should also come. Okay. In this case, remember this, that there are two things in Workday which is known as entry dates and effective dates. I'll explain you both of them. There is something, two known terms in Workday which is known as entry date and effective date. Meaning is when you entered the transaction inside tenant and when the transaction is effective in the tenant. You may have come to the system and entered this transaction on 5th of May. Entered means you have like worker profile, you have entered everything inside the system. You being an HR. It may happen that you have said this transaction would be only effective 20th of May. Okay. So currently this is a future transaction, future dated effective transaction. This is exactly now incremental means you have to generally in Workday, we pass whatever year is This updated from and updated through is nothing but an entered information. Okay. So from when to when transaction got entered, bring all those. Like let's say if I'm saying this, let's say 10th. I'm just saying 10th. No, I'll just say 10th. This one is 10th, and this one is 13th. I am saying this web service. I'm saying this web service that go in Workday, get me the transactions which were entered between 10 to 13th, and effective from 10 to 13. Okay. So any transaction that has been entered between 10 to 13 and it is also falling in effective between 10 to 13, just pull me all those transactions. So we have in an incremental way. I'll explain now. See, now I have passed in a date manually here. Okay. Generally in Workday, what we do is here we give year. Okay. Through the parameters, Workday parameters I'm talking is last successful completed time of integration, and this is current movement. Okay. So whenever our last successful run was, okay, from that time till current moment, whatever the changes came in the system. Similarly, last completed of integration to current time, okay, whatever changes came in the system, only fetch me that. So this web service runs every day. This web service runs every day. Okay. And between one day parameter, let's say this integration is scheduled to run every day. So between 24 hours, whatever changes were entered in the system or updated in the system, it will try to bring every other change, all those kind of changes. Not the whole section. No, I'll not say not the whole, not the full stack of data, but it will try to bring only changes only data. We call it as changes only data. Okay, in the web service, you will. I don't have the response here. I'll tell you how you will get. Where was the web service? Okay. Let's say you are running the web service. Okay. I should have given it 10. Let's say you have given running a web service. Okay. Let's say the compensation data include compensation. Just a minute. Just adding compensation also. Okay. You should not do this via web service, but I'll explain you it. So let's say there was a compensation changed, okay, for this worker. Now you have the compensation. Let's first go to the compensation data, and that's where I'll explain. You had a salary you were talking about, right? In Workday, it has a very nice thing of a prior value. Okay, so if let's say the stock plan ID changed, okay, so it will. So when you are running with that incremental run, right? So it will have something like I'll just show you how it will be. It will write something like Workday WD prior something like value equals. It will be inside here, okay, and here it will be. Let's say ABCD was before. So it will give something like this. Means it has been changed. Like prior it was this, okay, and currently it is this. So we can change the compensation for some person. Yeah, we can try. Let's take a employee, not a pre-hire candidate. Yeah, let's take John Shen. Okay, so compensation Workday has to be changed. So I have to go through actions here. Request compensation change. Here. I will just say 2 week compensation change to be done from 13th only, today only. What should I change this? The total is. I'll change this. No. Let me change this salary actually. Here it is. So I'll change the salary from 190 to 98. Okay. Okay. It is giving me a It should not cross a range, basically. Let me do one thing. Rather than 298, let me do it 200, okay? Reason is required. That's fine. We are just testing. Okay, reason would be here at the top. Successful. Everything has been changed successful. So when you're doing compensation change, it may go to various approvals, okay? But as of now, it is not done any approvals. So let me see whether his compensation got changed in worker history. I have to check that. His compensation got changed. Okay. What was there? So 200 is now, okay. Now let's do one thing. I have to change the request for that. So first let's add, where was this? Employee. Back. Okay. So just make it 10 on the control set. Just 1 minute. Transaction log range data. Okay, wait a minute. It has to be transaction log criteria. Okay. That's not an issue. There is an issue something else, which is this one. Let me fire this. We'll see everything. Hit date updated through date should be less than equal to current moment. That's what the current moment is. What is the current moment? What is the actually we are just on the time part. I'm just seeing what is the current time. Yeah, let's do one thing with 13th. I'm just let me remove this. It can take this also. I think it can take this, but I have to check once. By default, the web services takes time also. It may give us an error if it does. It's a problem there. If updated, okay, wait a minute. I can do one thing. If I give a full stack data for this guy, is any transaction log happening? Control X. Is any? I'm just looking at whether in composition it does show us or not. Yeah, but it is giving me not like this. It has to give me not like this. Just give me a minute. Rows. Just a minute. Okay. You have to go through transaction log only. Criteria. Updated through must be less or equal to current moment. What is the current moment that we have? Current moment. If I just say 07 or not this one, sorry. Correct. It isn't. That's the time issue that we're getting. I want. Okay, wait. Let me show you. Let me show you another way. Okay, because I want to show you that how we can see it. So similar, like I am firing get worker web service. Okay, worker changes. We generally create an integration system. Okay, generally we create an integration system. I'm just writing it INT. This is known as core connector worker. Okay. Core connector worker. I'll tell you what it is. Yeah, get worker changes. Behind the scenes, it triggers a get worker web service only. I'm selecting a template. It's a template. It is a template that we select to get worker changes. Other details also, but behind the scenes, it does same thing only. It does. What is the error? Launch activities. I can leave this alerts. It's fine. So if I go ahead and launch this integration, okay, it asks me for the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing that I was talking on the web service part. Template and worker that I'll have, I'll enter this worker. What does it says? Is this worker? Um, when did we update this guy? So, and effective date was 13th only. And let's say I'm running from 12th, okay? 12th to 13th. One thing I want to do before I make this, and Control C, ticket, cancel. It should not take much time. So it's an integration running for changes only. We generally schedule this integration, okay, and give client. So it generates an XML. Then we generally parse this XML using a programming language known as XSLT, and that's where we convert the XML into a text readable format or whatever format the client needs, a CSV or something like that. So see, it is trying to generate an output file. It will generate an output XML. Okay, file. I'm trying to open the XML here. Oh, it is not taking any XML. Why it is not taking in? Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I know what thing can happen. Let's open this guy first. When did I make this change? It's effective. I want to see this person first. John's pen. Job. Compensation 13th, 7:24 a.m. I want to run my integration. Seven zero zero. I guess 12th to 13th. Did it bring any data? I see. Okay. It didn't bought any data now also. Let us check the issue. It did not consider this worker. It didn't. It didn't. It didn't. One thing I need to do. Wait. This is a DIS enable. Let me do few things. We'll get that. We'll get that. Okay, now it is giving a which is eligibility criteria. Okay. I'm just setting a few attributes. Okay, don't worry. I'm just trying to first bring that worker. Field attribute service. Okay, I got it. Field attribute service element. It's basically a config errors that we are getting, not tech errors also. Okay. Let us see this. And then now, okay. Now it is giving us a data. Now, you see this? But the effective dates that I've used is this one only, 12 to 13th. 12 to 13th only I've used. Like, yes, basically what is happening now, when you are running here, it is by default taking a PST time. From Studio, it is not by default taking a PST time. It is either taking a system time or something like that. What we can do is, so rather than this, just give me a minute and see. Let me take this, Control C. Because generally for incremental data, we have an integration. We don't do it mostly via web service. Closing. Oh, sorry. There's an extra tab here. Said mostly the timing issue. So let's go to employment data. Payroll, interface, worker status, compensation. What is giving me this? The integration.
All right, let's test your knowledge. Here is a question for you. What is the purpose of the accept header in a Workday REST API request? Option A, to specify the format of the response data. Option B, to provide authentication credentials. Option C, to indicate the API version. Option D, to filter the requested data. Take a moment to think, and when you are ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck. Type the correct answer in the comment section. Attention all tech enthusiasts. Are you eager to unlock the power of Workday's REST API? Look no further. Our comprehensive Workday REST API course is here to equip you with the skills you need to master this powerful tool. In this self-paced course, you will delve into the intricacies of Workday's REST API, unlocking a world of seamless integration and automation possibilities. From creating and updating records to retrieving data and executing complex business processes, our course covers it all. Our expert instructors have meticulously crafted a curriculum that combines theoretical knowledge with hands-on exercises, ensuring you gain practical experience every step of the way. Whether you're a developer, an IT professional, or simply someone looking to streamline your organization's workflows, this course is tailored to your needs. But don't just take our word for it. Our satisfied students rave about the clarity of our explanations, the depth of our content, and the invaluable insights they've gained through this course. Invest in your professional growth today and gain a competitive edge in the ever-evolving world of HR technology. Our course offers unbeatable value, providing you with a comprehensive learning experience at an affordable price. Visit Zarentech's website below for full details on the training, including course outline, instructor profiles, and pricing information. Unlock the power of Workday's REST API and take your skills to new heights.
Inside common data, there is a now, if you see worker reference, this is same as this one I'm talking about. Okay. Now, what object is being passed here? Okay, it comes to here. IDs comes to here. If you click on this, it will take you to here. If you use many of times, like if you're using first time, okay, you don't know which IDs, but you, let's say if you are into a Workday environment, Workday developer, so you will gradually know, okay, the type that can be passed here is employee ID, also contingent worker ID, and see two things as per expectation might or might not come. Let's say his resident. His at home address changed. Okay, now if you're passing the, let's say in request you're passing this worker, so the my ask is again, so do you want that only the changed information or should come, like the home address has changed, so in response only home address change should come, or you want every other information with the updated home address change what is there, it will also come. So there is something known as in get worker, there's something known as date, also one date parameter. Things are there, like in Workday as a ERP system. Okay, when you go inside or log in inside as an, let's say as an HR person, I'm just talking as per the end user perspective. Okay, and this what like this HR, or let's say this user only went ahead and updated his address on today, right? So let's say today his address was updated on 10th of June, but the address is effective from 12th of June. It may not be. Okay, I'm just saying. So that's updated from updated. So effective date is effective from when the data is effective in Workday. The transaction that we are focusing on, when was this data effective from? If that transaction is a higher transaction, transaction is higher. Let's say hire is a transaction that has happened. Change home address change means home address change is a transaction that we are talking about. So home address when it got effective in Workday, that is the thing. The summarized thing is the very summarized thing I would say is in Workday two thing happens. So you understood like when the transaction is entered and when the transaction is effective. Okay, it may happen that the transaction is being entered today, but it is effective from day before to after day before. Let's say day after tomorrow. Day after tomorrow. If you let's say so this you have to select your updated form and update it through dates carefully. Let's say if you are giving the dates as whatever 9 to 10, okay, and you're saying that effective from is also 9 to 10, the transaction might not come for you, okay, the particular transaction that you're referring for, because the transaction is effective on 13, but you're trying to see that the transaction has been entered on 9 to 10th, but the transaction is not effective from 9 to 10th, but it is effective 13, so that transaction might not show up, but if you give 9 to 14th, the transaction might come up. So that's how this area of things work. Okay, there are in okay now I have to explain a very deep thing to you in Workday. So Workday has whenever you enter transactions of Workday, like gender, if I'm talking about, okay, transaction in Workday are classified in two forms: entry dated and effective dated transaction. Okay, now gender is an entry dated transaction, means it will not have an effective date. After this effective date, gender would be effective. Today, if you're entering, let's say male or female, okay, it's effective right now. Right now, it's effective. Updated from and updated through, that's where it is. That's where things will come out. It's an entry dated. It'll so if you will just enter 9 to 10 and gender was entered on 9, it will come. Don't need to give any effective date because that's not an effective dated transaction. And what address might come as an effective dated transaction. It might be there. Okay, then that case you might need an effective date. So depends on the kind of transaction that has been entered in Workday. The address change is an entry basically now. So updated from and updated through, give any date and it will come. Okay, let's say hire of an employee. Some different depends on there are different transactions. Compensation, if I'm talking about, okay, compensation is if the employee is promoted, his new compensation pay scale might be effective from let's say a month after, right? But it has been entered today in Workday. It's an entry dated transaction, sorry, effective dated transaction. That's where effective date might play a role, not the updated date along with effective date might play a role. That if I give everything through a web, yeah, it is possible through a web service. Again, you have to give effective from and through dates. But again, you have to give it, or else, see, if you'll not give it, the data might not come. Okay. Reason is I have experienced this. Like if you will just not remove everything effective and you'll try to get a future compensation change in the response, you might not get it. So student articulation rule. Now, if you click on this, I don't know why there is nothing saved in Workday. Okay, there's a value saved in Workday. Okay, if they add a Workday value, so it will actually give you student articulation. So student under articulation under rule under so value it can have, and that value you have to pass it here. Let me show you something like employee. If I'm just take employee. Let's say employee I'm taking. Okay. Total 6 pages and 539 results. So in one page, you will get 539 results. Okay. So see here, employee ID is there, the value is this. Okay. So similarly, you'll have student articulation ID with a value. Okay. So that has to be passed as a value for student articulation ID. So all these reference ID that you're mentioning are generally can be found from this maintain reference ID task. So for an example, get organization stored in Workday. Okay.
Right.
But if you get workers will give you organization data of the worker. Okay. So there also you're getting organizations. Okay. For an example, but in get organization, you're getting only organizations. So you're getting organization of the worker. If you just want to capture only organization, you will go for the get organization. But organization data, if you are just specifying for a worker, you'll always get that in get worker also. It depends how is your focus on, because it's not there only for worker. It may also happen there. Okay, these are transactions that have been performed. carry override and all these things, get carry over overrides. If these overrides are there existing for that worker, then it will become. If none of the transaction has been performed, so it will not come. Get worker generally gives you everything. That's what I'm saying. Workday is not so. There is a offerings of Workday, right? HCM offering is there, finance offering. Workday has offered finance. So Workday also works for universities, right? And that the tenant setup might be totally different. You will not find in that tenant employee IDs or contingent workers. There will be student IDs there because the tenant that you're working is not having those setup done. Student applicants for these are the get student applications are there, yeah, right? These are there get student applications and everything. You cannot say that. You cannot say that get workers. It may not be exact a replica of get worker of for get students. Okay, all student references. Yeah, maybe this one. Yes, until and unless I fire them, I have to see. It's more of student. Yeah, student application would be that only. Student ID won't be some kind of a thing. Maybe student application would be the right choice. No, student ID won't be strict in Workday. Student application would be a right choice. The one that we just saw, that would be a right choice. Worked on university would be able to answer this more properly. Like his because his tenant might store data related to universities, right? I can research on this now because I cannot give an answer right away because I don't know which web service will be responsible. But from community, I can definitely find it to give you just across different domains. Means one is inside, let's say, one is inside staffing and one is inside human resources. So basically, see, our session started with the REST and the SOAP, right? So we have almost discussed. Means the thing is, the session was not just for REST. The expectation was not REST of SOAP, but the expectation of the session was mostly mapping of Workday with how mapping happens inside Workday. Yeah, REST and SOAP was the part. Basically, while as we are discussing on web services, REST and SOAP would be the part. So from my side, if I try to make you understand, it will be more of Workday terminologies that I'm making you understand, but that's not needed for you as of now because you're not because you don't want to study Workday, right? I'm just saying you don't want to get into aspects of Workday and how Workday works. You want to go into how can I extract data from Workday and how mapping works there. Okay, so how it stores, like if I just if you open a notepad, I can just like I said you about domains, correct? So so domains are nothing. So domains, if you'll see somewhere, like I'll just show you some few. These are few terms inside Workday. Okay. Okay. When I'm talking on how Workday stores data. Okay. So there are now these are actually structures defined by Workday that how they will go ahead storing the data. Okay. The first thing I explain you is domains. Okay. Domains are nothing but Workday has created. Okay. Let's say for an example, employee home address. Okay. Employee work address, employees home country, work country, all these data would be existing inside a domain known as manage address. They have created a domain known as manage address. Let's say manage address. And whosoever has access to this manage address domain, see the home addresses details. You will also see. Similarly, might happen in Workday. So if you have access to, there are two access given to Workday, get and put. Okay? You have get access, you can see whatever the data is stored. If you have put access, you have the access to update the data also. I'm talking on domains. And now if I'm saying that, okay, I'm just talking on not domains, I'm talking on, let's say SSN for an example, okay? Everyone should not have access to see employees SSN or compensation, if I'm saying, I'll just go for compensation. So compensation details are stored inside a domain that Workday has created, which is known as managed compensation. And again, managed compensation exists inside a functional area known as compensation. So compensation is more of an umbrella, I would say. Inside compensation umbrella, there is managed compensation. There is different other compositions. Okay, different domains are created. I'm just giving you under managed compensation, everything is there. Okay, it's not like that. Compensation, some part is there. Okay, different domain. All the domains inside one umbrella that is known as compensation. What is happening now? First thing is, if you're having access to the functional area or not, okay? If you're not having access to the functional area compensation, you're not able to see the tab only for that employee. Like if you go for an employee like Logan McNeil, okay, and see if you like, if I see her profile here, and if you can see compensation, okay, then you have the compensation functional area thing, task. But if you cannot see her, let's say base pay, you may not have access to see base pay. You don't have a compensation only, so you may like, no, you will not see even this compensation here, not even see this. So domain access again. Now when I said that, saying that, so depending on different domain accesses, you have different other section visibility, access, or permissions. Okay, to update or get data. Now then inside these domains, okay, inside these domains there are business objects. Okay, business objects are just like classes. Okay, business objects, like there are like fields, I would say, which stores inside them a data. That this data in work business objects means, like if I'll say like inside managed compensation, there is a field known as there is a base pay field. Base pay stores workers base pay data. The business object, okay, and what is base pay data? That can 20,000, let's say, dollars. That is a metadata. Data source is something like data source is a collection of similar business objects or something which is used for making reports. How work stores data inside it is through these things. Okay, it basically stores data through business object, and data is something that already that changes with time, right? 20,000 can become 21,000 tomorrow or 23,000. So business object is a static. You cannot create them. Okay, you can, of course, you can create them. There is a task. Custom objects are known as, you can custom fields. There is known as, we can create them. But the delivered ones you cannot update them. Okay, so if there are delivered business like base pay something delivered business object, and you want to change it or you want to add something to it, you cannot do that. Okay, metadata is something that will already change, that is already changing. When you are extracting details of it, extracting, how it works is, first it sees the functional area you're trying to access, then it goes to the domain you're trying to access. You both have permission to do that. It goes to the business object permissions. Then when you have all the three access, it will go to the metadata. It will either get it, metadata means the value, it will either get it or either it will update it, whatever you're trying to do. They didn't store data in a database, rather went through the approach of object-oriented programming way, storing data in objects, classes and objects kind of a thing. So they didn't went through storing it in a traditional way of into an RDBMS or something like that. Like more, I would say like REST API is more of a URL based request, and SOAP are generally a wrapped envelope based request, which is in the form of XML. So yes, that's how REST and SOAP works. So in community, you have a REST API for get workers, but in Workday, like you showed me that slash where you can pass it. But in work, you have the SOAP option also available, where you are looking right away on your screen, where you can actually go ahead and use the SOAP request for Workday. REST section, like you are looking at here, that will not be there. There will definitely be a community post or something article about that. That section is not there. It would see, you would have more validation in place when you are talking on creating an integration system. But again, this is also fine. This is also fine. You'll either use the get worker web service, or you'll either create a report. These are only two best practices that you can do. Okay, so report data, if you client wants in a specific format, you can create an integration for it. Similarly, get worker, when I'm talking about, you'll get a response, right? If you want to show the response to a client or a business, they generally don't understand it because it's in an XML format, and they don't want to see a data in an XML format. They want to see it in a CSV or some other way, right? If that report in Workday, that report is exposed as a service. Okay, the report has 5 fields, let's say employee ID, employee name, or something. So you can expose the report as service and call it through Postman and get the data. Report data, whatever that column data is there, you will get it in the XML format in your system. This is a report, but you can create this. But this I don't think so. This is a report that is exposed as a. Let me see this. So this is a report, right? When you go to the sharing option, advanced option, there is a web. This report is not currently exposed as a web service. Okay, so this will be ticked. enable as web service. Okay.
Okay.
So when enable as web service, it will actually generate a URL, REST URL, through which URL, if you hit that URL, you will get the data back, whatever the report has in its columns. Now I know this is an enable as web service. The data source that will have all the workers is all workers. Now this I know because I have been extracting workers. Now here in this custom report, you can give everything field. Okay, employee ID, let's say legal name, and whatever field that is you want. Okay. And if you go to the share, and this report is enabled as web service. Now what you need to do is next, you have to go to web service view URLs. Let's say you need the report format in whichever format you need. Okay, it will give you this. Okay, these are the formats that is available. You need in GData, JSON format. Let's say XML format. If you need, you can copy the URL, and let's say I'm just copying it here. Copy text, copy URL. So this is the URL that you copied. Okay. Will when you give an enter, it will ask you for a username and a password. So this is the tenant username and a password that you need to give. You can create a security that is known as ISU, but basically here you have to give that LMC here, all the details. This name is CR all workers. I went to web service. I went to view URLs. In whichever data format I need the report. The things that can be accessed by this data source. Now, few things, complicated things, I have to explain you that there is a primary business object. Now, if you want to extract something, let's say from admissions, okay, admission I'm talking about, okay, and that exists inside an admission business object. So, worker and admission business object should have a common link that is also known as like foreign key, if we can say, right? Like two tables have a common link. So unless you have that common field, then only you can extract something from admission and put it in this custom report. So yeah, everything you can extract here. So photos, if like I'm just saying worker photo, I don't know whether worker photo like comes or not. I have to see. Yes. So this photo is what? Returns the photo of the worker. You see? So in this, I will say which field, like this is the base 64 image data. Okay. No, it will not change. If you have the ones, it will be there. That one. I just not stored it somewhere. Yeah, it will come. It will come here, no? It will come. Yes, it will come. I can do it through a report way because in one report it will take a time for me to build this report. Okay. But again, the thing is, yeah, I will take it a report way basically. Yes. Yeah, it will be, again, depends on the requirement that you're trying to achieve. Okay. So report would be an easier choice here. But of course, the web service would give you more data, I would say. And report, you might miss data because again, you are creating everything. Custom data means worker can have custom data. Custom data means that's what I'm saying, right? It will be more of a maintenance part that you have to come when you're designing. No, you cannot get. Actually, you can get, but you have to do a lot of things in report. With Java, yes, I have done with Java. So if it can be done with Java, it can definitely be done with C++, I guess. But that I was calling an integration outside Workday. Now, to call that integration outside Workday, again, you have to use URLs only. Like I had an integration URL with me. I had to fire that through a Java program. And once my Java runs, okay, again, the basic auth again was passed through Java programming. Again, once that run, what in output I was getting, I was launching the integration inside Workday. Okay. So if I have a URL, I have a username and a password, and what I can do is access Workday through my Java program, and definitely I can get data and update data also. If Java can do it, I think C++ might also. Means I've not tried on C++. These are the basic things that actually C++ are somewhere like it's more in demand now. Like The system programmings and everything are done still in C and C++. So the basic data structure things are written in C.
Attention all tech enthusiasts. Are you eager to unlock the power of Workday's REST API? Look no further. Our comprehensive Workday REST API course is here to equip you with the skills you need to master this powerful tool. In this self-paced course, you will delve into the intricacies of Workday's REST API, unlocking a world of seamless integration and automation possibilities. From creating and updating records to retrieving data and executing complex business processes, our course covers it all. Our expert instructors have meticulously crafted a curriculum that combines theoretical knowledge with hands-on exercises, ensuring you gain practical experience every step of the way. Whether you're a developer, an IT professional, or simply someone looking to streamline your organization's workflows, this course is tailored to your needs. But don't just take our word for it. Our satisfied students rave about the clarity of our explanations, the depth of our content, and the invaluable insights they've gained through this course. Invest in your professional growth today and gain a competitive edge in the ever-evolving world of HR technology. Our course offers unbeatable value, providing you with a comprehensive learning experience at an affordable price. Visit Zarentech's website below for full details on the training, including course outline, instructor profiles, and pricing information. Unlock the power of Workday's REST API and take your skills to new heights.
So the basic difference is, so see, import. I'll just you have must have seen that you are also looking at somewhere submit payroll input and import payroll input. Okay, okay. So the thing is that you must be seeing somewhere like submit. I'm just giving an example that you must be seeing that submit payroll input and import payroll input. So similarly, like you have. Put applicants, import applicant. Now, what is the difference between these web services? Is a basic difference. They do the same kind of work. Okay, the means it loads the same kind of data. If you see the web service, you will see the web service structure body also. What kind of data they send? It must be similar, not exactly same, but same. What task they are doing. The difference is, yeah, the difference is based on the how they operate. Okay. So in case of submit or in case of put, okay, whenever we are trying to load the data, the request and response go one by one. As in one by one, when I say that, like you submit a request, you get a response. Okay, in case of submit a request. Similarly, in case of put, you submit a request to get a response. Import act in a little different way, in which import give you a functionality that you can aggregate a response, make a batch, and then load the response. Aggregate the request, load, aggregate, create a request with aggregated request. Example, let's say if I'm using a submit payroll input, say if I have to load 10 payroll inputs, I will use a submit payroll input in which the submit payroll input web service will be called 10 times, one for each row. Let's take a situation where the file is having 1 lakh rows. Okay. If I'm trying to call my submit payroll input 1 lakh times, it will be a disaster for my studio also, because 1 lakh times the web service record. So what I do, I would create an aggregated one, means multiple payroll input request inside one web service, that is, and like multiple payroll input enclosed inside import payroll inputs. That's a Workday that. You may not find it for every web service. Yeah, if I'll click on this request, so you will see your applicant, right? This is one section of an applicant. Okay. So, yeah, so that way it can load multiple data, like it can load data in a batch. Okay. There can be a question coming from your side that, let's say if I'm loading 100 applicants for an example, and 55th applicant is a failure. Okay. How do I receive? Okay. Now coming to what would be the response of this web service. Okay. If submit payroll input is just whatever request you give, it will either be a success or a failure response. In case of import, you see there is only one response. Okay, you will just get a string response. Basically, you just get a Workday ID in a response. And even if you're loading 50 or 100 or let's say 200 rows, you will just get a single Workday ID in a response. Okay. Now the question might come that a single Workday ID, how will I know that whether all the rows has been processed successfully or not? Later, you have to again pass this Workday ID to another web service that is known as import process messages, in which you have to pass this Workday ID. And that web service will actually decode, or I will say it will expand this Workday ID inside. Basically, inside this Workday ID, all the rows are there. Web service. Yeah, there is one more web service known as import process messages. Now, import, process messages. It is not part of a staffing, basically. You're inside staffing now. I have given you, okay, it will be inside integration, but I have one more link. Okay, let's say this is the request you have passed, okay, and in what you get in output is a response which is a single Workday ID. I don't know where is that now. This is that web service, okay. This is that web service I was talking about, get import process request, in which you have to pass a vid or Workday ID. Now, this vid is nothing but the response that you have received from an import web service. I'm not talking about import payroll input. I'm not talking about import applicant. I'm talking about any import web service, which is giving a response. Now, that response, every time you will receive just a single Workday ID, and that single Workday ID has to be passed here in order to decrypt what's there inside. Basically, this Workday ID has all the success and error rows hidden behind this import web service. That's why it is get import process message required, right? Yeah, it's an aggregated ID, yes, a Workday ID. I am saying import is generally used in inbound integration where you have to load a lot, where you have to load data, which is basically when you have to load a high volume of data inside Workday. Backing up, then I think you are saying that you are extracting data from Workday, right? So in that case, you will use get. Putting it back, yes. Import or put, yeah, basically that's what I said. Every Workday has not provided for everyone an import, so you may find it for someone and you may not find it for someone. When you say that, okay, now see, this is an API in front of me now. So this is what there is a list now. This list of web services, total web services, so it's belong to every other section. Okay, human resources, integration, all the web. To go inside each of the sections, staffing, then human resource. Here I have every other thing just in one. Okay, now you are inside CMS. Okay. The thing is, like you cannot find like this in Workday if you just type worker. Yeah, so Workday is it's Workday is not driven by like if you just find now if you want to find Logan. Okay, I'm just giving an example. You have to write something like this: worker. Similarly, if I'm talking about John, you have to create a report for that. Yeah, you cannot. The reason is, I'll tell you. The thing is, when I'm saying about organizations, okay, okay, let's go in the web, get worker web service. We'll understand more clearly there. So. The only things that you can get in get workers are the sections here, okay? Whatever the response is there. Like if you see whatever the response is, now this is the response. Whatever is there in the response and whatever sections that we are referring here, that's the only thing that you can get. Now, if you want the exact tabular format of data or exact sequential data that is exactly there here, it may not be possible. I'm understanding your question. Like if I'm correctly there, so I'm understanding that. Where is that? Now, if I'm just understanding your question, like if you want, you are just saying that, okay, job detail is a page. Let's say this is a page that I'm looking at. And let's say I want to grab every information on this page. How do I do that? Similarly, organization page. If I want to grab every information from this page, how do I do that? Through web service, page-wise data extraction. You may get some information, not all the information. For an example, you may get details of these in Get Worker web service also. Okay, but it will not be a sequential detail. Like you will definitely get in Get Worker the contact details. You will definitely get the workers details, even the job details. You will get, okay, all these details you get inside Get Workers. Now, pages wise you may not get. Okay, it may be in a form of response. Similar organizations when I'm talking about in Get Worker, you may not get a very clear view which you may get from a get organizations. Basically, if you will get from get worker, okay, when in get worker within the response, you will actually find that would have the all the organization. WID is okay. What basically there is a country that is assigned to a worker, right? Now, the that I'm talking about, that country is a similar entity across. Meaning what? Okay, meaning what? When I'm saying name, okay, name. I'm just talking about legal name, and there is a country reference attached to it, and US is what is the name attached to the worker. It'll always US in itself is an object inside Workday. Country, the country is an object. You country, when you will see as a task, you will say USA, and USA would have a Workday ID, which if it is tagged to any of the worker, it will have the same Workday ID. Okay, so it's a similar entity that is attached to every other section. Similarly, here also you have attached the same thing, that is US. Okay, now coming back to your question is pages wise data exactly may not be a possibility, but you may get data in not sections but bricks and pieces, like personal information you are getting. Okay, like and similarly, if I was just on the organization page, right? Let's say I was here, this page, specific page I'm talking about. Where do I find information over here? Okay, so if I just scroll down, no problem. There won't be much of a things. This is email data. This is employment data. Okay, no, we can go. It will be quick only. Similarly, somewhere there will be also, this is payroll interface data, payroll management, worker job data, compensation data, salary data, bonus data, merit plan. There should be organization data also somewhere. Organization role data, I don't think so. That would be the one. This is the one you're talking about, right? Yeah, basically organization role data means in what organization this worker has a role. So if I am talking here, he is, let's say I'm just talking about role means this one I'm talking about, this role. Okay. He is cost center manager for one of the organization cost center. For a supervisory organization, he's a manager. That's what is captured under cost center role data, sorry, organization role data. That's what captured, what all roles he has in under different organizations. Okay, that may be captured inside role data. Similarly, we have this is organization role data. We need to scroll down. Role data is finished. I guess no, still going. This worker has too many roles. Organization role. Okay, still there is an organization. Okay, Logan. Okay, Logan is a super user kind of a person for Workday. So she must be having every role in every other thing. So got it. Okay. Benefit enrollment data, competency. So let's go to request. That's fine. Let's go to response somewhere. So you'll definitely get an organization data. That's not an issue. Position organization, you see the position organization data. You will definitely get all the organization. Now, if you are looking at here, you are getting all the organization data. I'm not talking about role data. I'm talking about organization data. So everything that you are talking about, you will be getting it inside here in the organization reference. So, but if you ask me that how do I get pages wise data, maybe not be possible. Like the different sections would be there inside. Similarly, employment data would be position inside a position section. There you can find these web things, these services. I would say when you say on the UI perspective, I want an exact match there over on my system. Oh, sorry, on my extraction, it may not be possible. Job history or manager history. Okay, most of the things that you will get in worker. Okay, most of the things that you may get from get workers. The things you may not get from get workers, you have to dig down more. Like for an example, payroll results or payroll inputs, you may not get exactly from get workers. So from there, you have to actually look out for other web services. Okay, so that will you get submit payroll input. It will give you all the payroll inputs that is there for this worker. Get payroll results. There are other payroll result web services to give you all the payroll result data for this worker. Similarly, if you want to extract benefit information, you may not get You may get what is tagged to worker. Definitely you will benefit information that is tagged to your worker. But all other benefit plans that is there in Workday, if you want to extract, you may not get that. But from Get Worker, you will get majority of the things that is for the worker. Like you are getting all this data, you are getting contact data, you are getting personal data, you are getting compensation, you are getting benefits, you are getting even career, you are getting in which learnings and everything are there, competency learning and all those things are there. You are getting all kind of data that is there from Get Worker. It's just not page-wise data, I would say. By looking at the web service, what I can tell, okay? Now, by looking at this web service, what I can tell. Now, again, I mean, 100% not be right, but I will be I will be at least 90 to 95% accuracy. What is this web service bringing? It is basically bringing the conditions which are there on the business processes. You may not see it in a front end. I'll show you how you will see it. I'll show you it. Give me the control and I'll show you the activity. These are basically conditional rules that are being actually formed by either functional folks or someone else. So you see view conditional rule. Okay. I don't know whether that will come or not. Okay. Now what is the name of this? Conditional rule ID data. Location is matter. Okay. Location. Someone has created this conditional rule. Okay. Conditional rule is a rule where where they have attached this rule. The question is where they have attached this rule. Created from global staffing eligibility used in collective agreement. Now they are using this rule somewhere inside this collective agreement. This is very functional, basically, very functional. That what is this exactly? You don't need this data. Now this data is basically a validation set up on a working of something. Like for an example, if I'm hiring, let's say if I'm hiring you, okay, I have set up of hiring validation that you have to first complete your I-9, something like that. Verification has to be done, then background check has to be done. So I've created a rule, I've created a condition that this has to be there. So it's just like a validation checklist that you're trying to extract here by this. So it's a validation checklist that has been prepared by the functional folks and has been attached at different places in the tenants under some business processes or some. So basically when the data is flowing through them, it will pass through these checks. Okay, so these are rules. You need it if the okay. So when you say data, okay, there is something else. Okay, when you say I just need data, okay, that is a different question. When you say I need data also and I need all the validation, means all the logic. So these rules are nothing but a company, means it's a logic written inside tenant. Okay, that you have to do this or you have to do that. So you are trying to extract these logical rules. Now, these rules are basically created by functional folks. The functional folks decide, okay, this is how the structure of my company is. This is how the data would flow for my company. Now they have written some rules for that. For an example, if I'm just talking about general ledger, okay, say I'm just talking about a general ledger. Now, based upon what expense it is, the expense goes into some other account. Based upon what kind of expense it is, the expense goes on some other account. It's a logic or it's a condition written on what if, let's say, you have taken a laptop, it will go inside an electrical expense. You have taken a chair, it will go inside another expense account. Okay, different accounts are mapped. Okay, now how that is possible? Because someone has written a rule. Okay, then when this kind of expense comes, it has to go under this account. What you're trying to do now is you're trying to extract those rules. Okay, these are the logics that you're trying to extract, not the data. I'm just saying this is not an exact data. This is our logics. Yeah, what I was saying last. Okay, so business logic basically. Okay, whenever you are extracting this condition, these are nothing but business logics. Okay, job family group is different. Okay, now what we were talking about earlier was a conditional rules. Okay, now what is a job family? So for this, we have to understand the. Now, if I make you understand now what is a job family or job family group, I have to make you understand the basics of human capital management for Workday. Okay, so I will just, regardless of this, I'll just make you understand something else. Let's say you have a compensation, right? So inside a compensation falls inside a compensation grade. Okay, so there will be a compensation grade inside which there will be many different compensation plans. Okay, again the compensation grade falls under compensation group. Okay, so it's more like we are aggregating data. Job family, when I'm saying, okay, so similar job families inside, so there are different job families you can get inside job family group. There will be a similar job family group. That it is more of an aggregation of data that is Workday keeps inside it. Okay, so when I'm saying job family or job family group, it is important. Now these data are important because this is stored inside Workday. So if you see, there is a job okay, if you see there's a job family, right? Let me show you one more thing. That will be your job family is there. Now this job family would again be inside a job family group. So that I can find inside. So if I just give, maybe yes, view job family group. I've never searched, but if I search job family, it is not, there is no task for that. No, there is no task for that. Generally we get it, but I'll show you again. Not so, that's not an issue. Organization position is attached to job profile. Job profile is attached to a job family. Okay, this is a job family. HR management, and HR management is a part of human resources, which is a job family group. Okay, it is more of an aggregation happening if you see here. Now I'll just go back from here. See, now let's say this is the job family, part of job family group, human resources. Okay, let's talk about human. Now if I just see human resources, inside human resources, now this is a job family group. Inside human resources there are these many things. Okay, let's say if I go inside any one of them, I'm just saying if I go inside HR payroll. Okay, inside this, it will be this is a part of a job family group. Inside this there are many job profiles. So job profiles being a part of a job family being a part of a job family group. Okay, it is more of a tree kind of a thing, so it's more of a, like, one sits at the top, then it divides under two, then again it divides under four. So payroll coordinator maps back to, like, if I just go to this Logan's profile. So if you see this, so she is of job family group HR management. HR management falls under human resources. Her job profile might be a HR. So what is her job profile? So how do I see her job profile? So this is a job family, HR management. Okay. And her job profile is, which will be back, vice president. Okay. Now where do I find? So she's a vice president. Now inside the job family of HR management, which is again a part of human resources, I may not be a part. Now let's say if I'm taking some other employee, if I'm just taking, this is Logan data. Okay, this is Logan. I'll compare between two employees. I'll just, first is Logan. Now for Logan, you see that she's a vice president at a company. Okay, and she belongs to a family or job family. Job profile, she's a vice president, and she belongs to a job family HR management, which is again a part of a job family group, human resources. Okay, now if I talk about Joy Banks, okay, let's take an example of this person, Joy Banks. So if I say Joy Banks, now Joy Banks is a chief human resource officer. Okay, now chief human resource officer, it does not fall under this. See, means job profile. If I'll see the job profile of this guy, this person, Joy Banks, job profile is chief human resource officer. Okay, now chief human resource officer is not inside this. So let's check under which job family group this person is. So if I will open the position again of this person, and if I'll try to this is the job profile, then I have to go for his job profile. If I'll click, okay, yeah. If I'll click job profile, I will see a job profile of job family of HR management. So this also falls under, okay, this also falls under HR management only. This also falls under HR management. So I will make you, the simple thing is it's basically follows a hierarchy structure. Okay, job family, job. It is more of an organizational structure. Okay, like if I'm just talking about a company like Deloitte, it has positions like senior consultant. Okay, senior consultant may fall under uh, bracket of, let's say, consultants. So under consultants, there are junior consultants and normal consultants. Under architect, there can be senior consultants and there can be senior developers. So these are these are kind of job structure description that is there for every other organization. That's how we divided into job family group. It is basically structuring the organization. But by the question is, do you need this? Yes, you need this. The reason is you should also wherever you are sending this data or wherever this data is being utilized. I don't know where it will be utilized, but they would need all these mapping to be there, like which position inside, which will be tagged, because position would be tagged to job family group inside. So this will be required. For an example, I want to hire you, right? Workday. So this is what would be needed. I will be giving all the information for you. When will be your first start date? All the position tagged to you. The thing is, I will give you what is this? Yeah, this is a get worker call. But if you want to create a worker, or let's say if you want to hire a worker, I would rather say, then you have to use a hire employee request. Okay. Through this, you can hire a contingent worker also and normal worker also, which is an employee ID, I would say. No. There are different types of worker in Workday. Contingent worker means contractors. Okay. Employee IDs are full-time employees, FTEs. So now, if you, for an example, how do you assign this? You don't know, right? Like if let's say I'm creating for the first time. So what employee ID I will assign, I don't have control over this because this is defined in the tenant setup that what would be the next employee ID. So automatically it will assign a new employee ID, create this. Now, if you want to get the exact request for this, I have a request with me, hire employee request. Okay. On Switch, I can send it to you. You just have to fill in the data. Import is not available for hiring. Like you will not find import hire employee, I guess. When I say applicant, when I say candidate, okay, those are not workers. Okay. I may be applying for your company. Okay. I am a candidate or I am an applicant. Okay. I'm not an employee of your company. So when you say applicant, so these are the people who have applied for a position, or let's say a job requisition is opened in a company in which there is some recruitment happening. I have never used it, but yeah, again, it will be the same thing. You know what? Again, when you're saying it might get corrupted, okay. So this job family group. Okay, when I'm talking about hiring an employee, okay, let's say before hiring you, okay, before hiring you in the system, all these things, that is job family group, compensation grade, compensation package, should already be there in place. Okay, it should already be created so that I just assign that to you. Okay, it is not like I'm creating like I'm having while I'm hiring you, I'm assigning a vice president role for you. That role should be inside Workday. These reference ID are already stored in Workday, means already created, not stored. Basically, I'll say I'll already created. No. You don't create with this ID. You create it, and Workday gives a unique ID. This is what you are getting it when you are giving a get call. Okay, this is not your assigning. Okay, this is what Workday has assigned to a goal that has been created. A goal that with this name has been created in Workday. Some other guy must have created this role. Okay, sorry, goal. This goal, when the guy was creating this, Workday assigned a unique Workday ID to it, which is this ID. Okay, and when you are giving a get call, or when you're giving a get call, so this is what being extracted. A bid is being extracted. In inserting data, you don't have to give bid. Basically, you have to give the reference ID. When I say reference ID, that goal reference ID I'm talking about. Okay, that bid is not important much, but the goal reference ID is important. Let's say bid won't be a mandatory one, but this goal reference ID would be a mandatory. When you're creating something in Workday, yes. For an example, if you're creating a employee, a Workday ID would be generated for an employee.
Okay.
Meaning, if I'll just say this guy, Logan McNeil, okay, if you go to her actions, and if I'll just view IDs. So this is a Workday ID for this person. Yeah, everything that is there inside Workday will have a Workday ID. This person has an employee ID, of course. Okay, which is a reference ID. Okay, similar to what we were calling about goal reference ID. So goal reference ID is nothing but this ID. Okay, which is employee ID. Workday ID is a unique identifier given by Workday. Again, saying that you should know the web service which will be able to create a goal reference. The case that you're taking, that it's a very rare case in which the server might get corrupted. But that generally does not happen because Workday has multiple copies. But yes, that will be the answer to your question would be yes. Generally, the Workday ID won't be erased. And exactly how you can see that, you can just write something like this: WID, that is Workday ID colon. So this is the goal that someone has created. Okay, and someone has created for a person, Alex Gracia, I guess. And this is an, how do you see as ID assigned to this person? Integration IDs, view IDs. This is the same ID that we. Let me see where this is associated with. Now this goal is being assigned. Let me see the history. Let's see. Logan may be involved somewhere here in making this goal or something. Something should be there on this person. I have to see this. Actually, I have to go to his careers. If you will do that, okay, if you will do that, when you're doing a get, Alex Gracia, you may get an error. Okay, Workday will give you an error that this goal is either not found or you're trying to do something which is not existing in Workday. It will definitely give you a Workday validation error. You cannot delete this guy. You can terminate this guy. You cannot delete this guy from the tenant.
All right, let's test your knowledge. Here is a question for you. Which Workday REST API endpoint is used to create a new worker record? Option A /workers, option B /employees, option C /staff, option D /personnel. Take a moment to think, and when you are ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck. Attention all tech enthusiasts. Are you eager to unlock the power of Workday's REST API? Look no further. Our comprehensive Workday REST API course is here to equip you with the skills you need to master this powerful tool. In this self-paced course, you will delve into the intricacies of Workday's REST API, unlocking a world of seamless integration and automation possibilities. From creating and updating records to retrieving data and executing complex business processes, our course covers it all. Our expert instructors have meticulously crafted a curriculum that combines theoretical knowledge with hands-on exercises, ensuring you gain practical experience every step of the way. Whether you're a developer, an IT professional, or simply someone looking to streamline your organization's workflows, this course is tailored to your needs. But don't just take our word for it. Our satisfied students rave about the clarity of our explanations, the depth of our content, and the invaluable insights they've gained through this course. Invest in your professional growth today and gain a competitive edge in the ever-evolving world of HR technology. Our course offers unbeatable value, providing you with a comprehensive learning experience at an affordable price. Visit Zarentech's website below for full details on the training, including course outline, instructor profiles, and pricing information. Unlock the power of Workday's REST API and take your skills to new heights. Let's look at the first question. What is the Workday REST API and what is its purpose? Absolutely. The Workday REST API is like the bridge that connects external applications with Workday's cloud-based human capital management, HCM, and financial systems. Imagine Workday as a fortress of valuable data about employees, payroll, finances, and more. The REST API acts as the gatekeeper, allowing authorized external apps to enter and interact with this data. So, what's its purpose? Well, think of it as opening up Workday's treasure trove of information to the wider world. It enables external apps to access and manipulate Workday data, all through a standardized interface. Let's break it down a bit further. You've got your company's HR system, payroll system, and financial management system all neatly tucked away in Workday. Now, let's say you want to build a custom employee onboarding app. Without the Workday REST API, you'd be stuck manually transferring data between systems, which is slow, error-prone, and downright inefficient. But with the REST API, your onboarding app can seamlessly pull in employee information from Workday, like names, job titles, and contact details, to streamline the onboarding process. Now, you might be wondering how it works. Well, the Workday REST API follows standard HTTP methods like get, post, put, and delete, making it easy for developers to interact with. And it communicates using JSON payloads, which is just a fancy way of saying it exchanges data in a format that's easy for both humans and machines to understand. So, in a nutshell, the Workday REST API is all about enabling seamless integration between Workday and external applications, unlocking the full potential of your data and streamlining your business processes. The Workday REST API plays a crucial role in connecting Workday with external systems, making data access and manipulation a breeze. With the Workday REST API, the possibilities for enhancing your business processes are virtually endless. Let's look at the next question. What are the key features and benefits of using the Workday REST API? The Workday REST API offers a range of features that make it a powerful tool for integrating Workday with external systems and applications. Let's break down some of its key features and benefits. Firstly, seamless integration with external systems and applications is a standout feature. Workday's REST API allows for smooth communication between Workday and other platforms, enabling data exchange without friction. For example, imagine a company using Workday for HR management and another system for payroll. With the Workday REST API, employee data can seamlessly flow between these systems, ensuring accuracy and efficiency. Next, the flexible and scalable architecture of the Workday REST API empowers developers to build custom integrations tailored to their specific needs. Consider a scenario where a company wants to integrate Workday with a custom-built analytics platform. The flexibility of the API allows developers to design an integration that meets the unique requirements of their analytics solution. Support for various authentication and authorization mechanisms is another crucial aspect. The Workday REST API offers robust security features, ensuring that only authorized users can access and modify data. Imagine a scenario where sensitive employee information is being accessed through the API. With proper authentication and authorization mechanisms in place, the risk of unauthorized access is significantly reduced. Comprehensive documentation and developer resources provided by Workday make it easier for developers to understand and leverage the API effectively. Think of it as a guidebook that helps developers navigate the intricacies of the API. With clear documentation and ample resources, developers can accelerate the integration process and troubleshoot any issues more efficiently. The ability to retrieve, create, update, and delete Workday data gives developers full control over the information exchanged through the API. Let's say our company needs to update employee records or create new positions within Workday. The API allows for these operations to be performed programmatically, saving time and reducing manual errors. Lastly, real-time data access and synchronization capabilities ensure that information is always up to date across integrated systems. Imagine a scenario where an employee updates their contact information in Workday. With real-time synchronization, this change is immediately reflected in all connected systems, eliminating discrepancies and ensuring data accuracy. With its seamless integration capabilities, flexibility, and comprehensive security features, the Workday REST API is a valuable tool for modern organizations. Let's look at the next question. What authentication methods are supported by the Workday REST API? Workday's REST API offers several authentication methods to ensure secure access to its resources. Let's break them down. Firstly, there's OAuth 2.0. This method provides token-based authentication, which means users or applications are issued tokens that grant access to Workday resources. It's widely used for its security and flexibility. Imagine you're developing an application that needs to access employee data stored in Workday. With OAuth 2.0, your app can request a token from Workday, which it can then use to authenticate and access the necessary information. Next, there's basic authentication. This method involves providing a username and password for authentication. While not as secure as OAuth 2.0, it's still widely used and relatively straightforward. For example, if you're accessing Workday resources through a script or a simple application, basic authentication might be suitable. You provide your username and password, and Workday verifies your credentials before granting access. Lastly, there's certificate-based authentication. This method relies on client certificates for secure communication between the client and the server. It's commonly used in environments where heightened security is required. Think of it as having a digital ID card for your application. When your app communicates with Workday, it presents this certificate, which Workday validates to ensure secure access. Thank you for that detailed explanation. It's interesting to see the different authentication methods available for accessing Workday resources. Absolutely. Choosing the right authentication method depends on factors like security requirements, the nature of your application, and user experience considerations. Indeed, it's crucial for developers to understand these methods to ensure secure and seamless integration with Workday's API. Exactly. With the right authentication method in place, developers can leverage Workday's REST API to build powerful and secure integrations. Let's look at the next question. How do you authorize and control access to Workday data through the REST API? Access control in the Workday. REST API is crucial for maintaining data security and integrity. Let's break down how it's managed. Firstly, access control is managed by security groups, domain policies, and user permissions. These mechanisms work together to ensure that only authorized users can interact with Workday data via the REST API. For example, let's say a company has different departments like HR, finance, and operations. Each department may have its own security group, defining who can access specific data related to their domain. Developers play a key role in defining security groups for API users. They determine which users belong to which groups, based on their roles and responsibilities within the organization. Imagine a scenario where an HR manager needs access to employee data for recruitment purposes. The developer would assign them to the appropriate security group, granting them access to the necessary resources. These security groups control access to specific resources and operations within Workday. This means that users can only interact with the data and perform actions that are relevant to their roles. Furthermore, domain policies and user permissions further refine access based on roles and privileges. Domain policies establish overarching rules for data access, while user permissions fine-tune access at an individual level. Let's say a manager has access to sensitive financial data but should not be able to modify it. User permissions can be configured to restrict their ability to make changes, ensuring data integrity. Access to Workday data through the REST API is carefully controlled through a combination of security groups, domain policies, and user permissions. This ensures that only authorized users can access and interact with the data, maintaining security and compliance. The Workday takes data security seriously, employing robust mechanisms to control access to its API. Let's look at the next question. What are the common HTTP methods used in the Workday REST API? The Workday REST API is a powerful tool that allows developers to interact with Workday's resources using common HTTP methods. Let's break down each method, shall we? Firstly, we have GET. This method is used to retrieve data from Workday resources. For example, if you want to fetch employee information from Workday, you would use the GET method to access that data. Now on to POST. POST is used to create new resources or submit data to Workday. Imagine you're onboarding a new employee. You would use the POST method to send their information to Workday and create a new employee record. Moving on to PUT. PUT is used to update existing Workday resources. Let's say an employee's address changes. You would use the PUT method to update their address in the Workday system. Next, we have delete. As the name suggests, delete is used to delete Workday resources. For instance, if an employee leaves the company, you would use the delete method to remove their record from Workday. Finally, we have patch. Patch is used to partially update existing Workday resources. This means you can make small changes to a resource without having to resend the entire dataset. For example, if you only need to update an employee's job title without altering any other information, you would use the patch method to make that specific change. The different HTTP methods supported by the Workday REST API. It's clear that each method serves a specific purpose in interacting with Workday's resources. Understanding these methods is essential for developers looking to integrate Workday functionality into their applications. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle error responses and exceptions in the Workday REST API? Handling errors and exceptions in the Workday REST API is crucial for ensuring smooth and reliable interactions with the system. Let's break down how it's done. Firstly, it's important to note that the Workday REST API utilizes HTTP status codes to communicate the outcome of API requests. These status codes give developers insights into whether a request was successful or encountered an error. For instance, a status code in the 200 range typically indicates success, while a code in the 400 or 500 range signifies an error. Now, when errors occur in API responses, Workday provides detailed error information to help developers pinpoint the issue. This information typically includes error codes and messages, offering valuable context for troubleshooting. Let's say a developer makes a request to retrieve employee data from Workday, but there's a problem with the authentication token. In this case, the API might return a 401 status code along with a message indicating unauthorized access. Handling these errors gracefully is essential. Developers need to write code that can detect error responses, log relevant details for debugging purposes, and provide appropriate feedback to users. Imagine a scenario where a user attempts to submit a time-off request through an application integrated with the Workday API. If the request fails due to a network error or invalid data, the application should display a user-friendly message informing the user of the issue. Additionally, logging errors is crucial for tracking issues and diagnosing problems in the system. By logging error details, developers can analyze trends, identify recurring issues, and implement preventive measures. For instance, if a certain type of error keeps occurring during data synchronization between Workday and an external system, logging can help pinpoint the root cause, such as data formatting issues or network connectivity issues. It's evident that error handling plays a significant role in ensuring the reliability and stability of integrations with the Workday REST API. By implementing robust error handling mechanisms, developers can enhance the resilience of their applications and provide a smoother experience for users. Let's look at the next question. What are the considerations for API error handling and fault tolerance when using the Workday REST API? When it comes to integrating with the Workday REST API, effective error handling and fault tolerance are paramount for smooth operations. Let's break down some considerations, shall we? Firstly, robust error handling mechanisms are essential. This means catching and logging exceptions that may occur during API calls and providing users with clear, meaningful error messages. For instance, imagine a scenario where a request to retrieve employee data fails due to a connectivity issue. A well-handled error would log the issue and inform the user of the problem, such as unable to retrieve employee data at this time. Please try again later. Additionally, implementing retry logic with exponential backoff can help handle transient errors gracefully. Instead of immediately retrying failed requests, the system waits for progressively longer intervals before attempting again. Let's say a request to update a worker's information fails due to a temporary network hiccup. With exponential backoff, the system retries the request after a short delay, then gradually increases the delay with each subsequent attempt, giving the system time to recover. Designing integrations with fault tolerance is equally crucial. This involves implementing patterns like circuit breakers to prevent system overload and cascading failures. Imagine a scenario where a surge in API requests overwhelms the back-end systems. A circuit breaker mechanism would temporarily halt further requests to prevent the system from becoming overwhelmed, thus protecting its stability. Additionally, using fallback mechanisms can help mitigate the impact of failures. These mechanisms provide alternative methods or data sources when the primary API endpoint is unavailable. For example, if a request to retrieve financial data fails, a fallback mechanism might retrieve cached data or provide a default value to ensure that critical processes can continue without disruption. Regularly monitoring error logs and setting up alerts for critical errors is another important aspect of maintaining fault tolerance. This allows teams to proactively identify and address issues before they escalate. Finally, having a well-defined incident response plan is essential for resolving API-related issues quickly. This plan should outline steps for identifying, troubleshooting, and resolving issues, ensuring minimal impact on operations. An effective error handling and fault tolerance strategies are essential for successful Workday REST API integrations. By implementing these best practices, organizations can ensure the reliability and stability of their integrations, ultimately enhancing overall performance. Let's look at the next question. What is the role of the Workday API Explorer and how does it help developers? The Workday API Explorer serves as a handy tool for developers venturing into the realm of Workday's REST API. Think of it as your trusty guide, helping you navigate through the vast landscape of data and functionality within Workday. Now, let's break it down. Workday's REST API supports pagination, which is essentially a way to efficiently handle large sets of data. Imagine you're trying to retrieve a list of employees from Workday, but there are thousands of them. Pagination helps you manage this abundance of data without overwhelming your system. With the API Explorer, developers can specify pagination parameters right within their API requests. This means you can define things like the page size, how many records per page, and the page number you're interested in. For instance, let's say you're building an application that displays employee information. By using the API Explorer, you can set the page size to, let's say, 50 employees per page. Then, you can specify which page you want, like page 1, page 2, and so on. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you make a request using the API Explorer, The response you receive includes pagination metadata. This includes essential details like the total count of records available and the URL for the next page of results. Think of it as your roadmap through the data. The metadata tells you how much data there is in total and provides a direct link to the next batch of records, making it easy for developers to fetch data efficiently. However, it's important to note that while Workday provides pagination metadata, developers still need to implement pagination logic in their applications. This means handling the retrieval and processing of data across multiple pages effectively. Let's say you're building that employee information app we mentioned earlier. You'd need to write code that iterates through each page of employee records, fetching them one by one until you've retrieved all the data you need. The Workday API Explorer acts as a gateway to Workday's vast treasure trove of data. It empowers developers to harness the power of pagination for efficient data retrieval, all while providing essential metadata to guide them along the way. The API Explorer plays a crucial role in simplifying data retrieval and processing for developers working with Workday's REST API. It's a game changer for developers looking to leverage Workday's rich functionality in their applications. Let's look at the next question. What are the best practices for designing and consuming the Workday REST API? Designing and consuming the Workday REST API involves several key practices to ensure smooth integration and efficient operation. Let's break them down. Firstly, it's important to follow RESTful principles with appropriate HTTP methods. This means using methods like GET, POST, POT, and DELETE for CRUD operations, ensuring consistency and predictability in API interactions. For example, if you're retrieving employee data from Workday, you would use the GET method to request information, and if you're updating employee records, you would use the PUT method. Ensuring clear API endpoints and consistent resource naming is crucial for developers. This simplifies the integration process and makes it easier to understand and use the API. Imagine you're working with Workday's API to manage employee profiles. Having clear endpoints like employees for retrieving employee data and employees ID for accessing specific employee records makes the API intuitive and user-friendly. Implementing strong authentication and authorization mechanisms is paramount to protect sensitive data. This involves using secure protocols like OAuth 2.0 and ensuring that only authorized users can access the API. For instance, Workday's API may require authentication tokens generated through OAuth 2.0, ensuring that only authenticated users with the necessary permissions can interact with employee data. Validating input data is essential to prevent security vulnerabilities like SQL injection or cross-site scripting. By validating and sanitizing user inputs, you can safeguard against potential exploits. Imagine a scenario where a malicious user tries to inject malicious code into a request to manipulate employee records. Input validation would detect and block such attempts, maintaining data integrity. Handling errors gracefully with clear messages is crucial for a positive developer experience. Instead of cryptic error codes, provide descriptive messages that help developers troubleshoot issues quickly. For example, if there's an authentication failure, the API could return a clear message like invalid credentials instead of a generic error code, making it easier for developers to identify and resolve the issue. Optimizing performance through data minimization and caching can significantly improve API responsiveness, minimize the amount of data returned in responses, and implement caching mechanisms to reduce server load and latency. Let's say you're fetching employee data from Workday's API. By only retrieving the necessary fields and catching frequently accessed data, you can reduce response times and enhance overall performance. Versioning the API ensures smooth upgrades and backward compatibility. By versioning the API endpoints, you can introduce new features without breaking existing integrations. For instance, if Workday releases a new version of the API with additional functionalities, developers can continue using the existing version until they're ready to migrate to the new version, minimizing disruptions. Thoroughly documenting the API with code samples and examples is essential for developers to understand and utilize its capabilities effectively. Providing comprehensive documentation with examples of API usage scenarios helps developers integrate the API seamlessly into their applications, reducing development time and effort. These guidelines can greatly enhance the design and consumption of the Workday REST API. By adhering to these best practices, developers can leverage the Workday REST API to its fullest potential, driving innovation and efficiency in their applications. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle data validation and integrity when using the Workday REST API? Data validation and integrity are paramount when working with the Workday REST API. Let's break down how it's managed. Firstly, developers should implement client-side validation. This means checking data on the client side, typically within the application or interface, before sending it to the API. Imagine a scenario where a user is filling out a form to update their personal information in Workday. Client-side validation would ensure that they enter their email address in the correct format or that they provide all required fields. Now, once the data is sent to the Workday REST API, server-side validation comes into play. Workday conducts its own validation checks to ensure data integrity according to the rules defined within the system. For instance, if the API receives a request to update an employee's salary, it will verify that the new salary falls within the acceptable range defined by the company's policies. If the data violates any validation rules during server-side processing, the API will return appropriate error responses. These responses help developers identify what went wrong and why. Let's say a request to add a new employee is sent with a missing required field, such as the employee's start date. The API would respond with an error message indicating the missing data. Handling and communicating these errors to users is crucial. Developers need to ensure that users are informed of any issues with their data entry and guide them on how to correct it. For instance, if a user attempts to submit a form with invalid data, the application should display a clear error message explaining the issue and provide instructions on how to rectify it. It's evident that data validation plays a crucial role in maintaining data accuracy and integrity within the Workday ecosystem. By implementing both client-side and server-side validation mechanisms, developers can ensure that only accurate and compliant data enters the Workday system. Let's look at the next question. What is the purpose of API versioning in the Workday REST API? API versioning in the Workday REST API serves a crucial purpose in ensuring smooth evolution and compatibility of integrations. Imagine you have an application integrated with the Workday system, utilizing its API to fetch employee data. Now, Workday decides to introduce new features or enhancements to its API. With API versioning, Workday can roll out these changes without disrupting existing integrations. This means your application can continue to function seamlessly, even as Workday evolves. So, how does API versioning work? Well, it's pretty straightforward. Each version of the Workday API is assigned a unique number, typically included in the URL, when making API requests. Let's say you're currently using version 2.0 of the Workday API in your application. If Workday releases version 3.0 with new features, You have the flexibility to continue using version 2.0 until you're ready to upgrade. Developers have the autonomy to choose which API version best suits their application's requirements and compatibility needs. For instance, if your application relies heavily on certain functionalities provided by version 2.0 and you're not ready to migrate to version 3.0 yet, you can stick with version 2.0 until you're prepared for the transition. On the other hand, if version 3.0 introduces critical enhancements that align with your application's goals, you can opt to upgrade to take advantage of those features. In essence, API versioning empowers developers to manage the evolution of their integrations with Workday in a way that best suits their timelines and objectives. It's evident that API versioning plays a vital role in maintaining compatibility and flexibility for developers using the Workday REST API. With API versioning, developers can adapt to changes in the Workday ecosystem while ensuring their integrations remain reliable and up to date. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle authentication and token management in the Workday REST API? Handling authentication and token management in the Workday REST API is crucial for secure access to data and resources. Let's break it down. Workday REST API relies on OAuth 2.0 for authentication and authorization. OAuth 2.0 is a widely adopted protocol that provides a secure way for applications to access resources on behalf of users. Developers interact with Workday by authenticating using client credentials. These credentials, consisting of a client ID and client secret, are provided by Workday when setting up API access. Once authenticated, developers receive an access token. Think of the access token as a digital key that grants permission to access Workday resources. It's like having a key card to enter a secure building. Now, it's important to note that access tokens have expiration times. This is a security measure to limit the window of opportunity for unauthorized access. As such, developers are responsible for managing token refresh and renewal processes. This involves periodically checking the expiration time of the access token and obtaining a new one before it expires. Let's consider an example. Say a developer is building an application that integrates with Workday to fetch employee data. Upon authentication, they receive an access token with a specified expiration time, let's say 1 hour. Throughout the hour, the application makes API requests using the access token to retrieve employee information. As the expiration time approaches, the application proactively refreshes the token to maintain seamless access. The ultimate goal is to maintain a valid access token throughout the API session. By effectively managing token refresh and renewal, developers ensure uninterrupted access to Workday resources. The proper authentication and token management are essential for secure and efficient interaction with the Workday REST API. Implementing best practices for authentication and token management ensures that data remains protected while enabling seamless integration with Workday. Let's look at the next question. What are the tools and libraries available for working with the Workday REST API? Workday provides a range of tools and libraries to support developers in working with its REST API. Let's break it down. Firstly, there's the Workday API Explorer, a web-based tool designed for testing endpoints. It's a user-friendly interface where developers can experiment with different requests and see how the API responds. Imagine you're a developer tasked with retrieving employee data from Workday. With the API Explorer, you can quickly test various endpoints to find the one that returns the information you need. Next up, we have the Workday SDK for Java. This toolkit simplifies the authentication process and makes it easier to send requests to the API from Java applications. Let's say you're building a custom HR application using Java. Instead of manually handling authentication tokens and crafting HTTP requests, you can leverage the Workday SDK to streamline these tasks. Similarly, there's the Workday SDK for .NET, tailored for developers working with the .NET framework. It provides the same benefits as the Java SDK, but is optimized for the .NET environment. If you're familiar with CT and developing applications on the .NET platform, this SDK offers a convenient way to integrate Workday's REST API into your projects. Lastly, Workday offers Postman collections. These are pre-built sets of requests and workflows designed specifically for testing Workday API endpoints within the popular Postman tool. Imagine you're a QA engineer responsible for ensuring the reliability of integrations with Workday. By utilizing Postman collections, you can quickly run a series of tests to verify that API endpoints are functioning as expected. Ultimately, the choice of tools depends on factors like the developer's preferred programming language and the specific requirements of the project. The Workday offers a variety of resources to support developers in working with its REST API. These tools are designed to simplify the integration process and empower developers to build robust solutions that leverage the power of Workday's platform. Let's look at the next question. What are the common API resources and endpoints available in the Workday REST API? Workday's REST API provides a range of resources and endpoints to interact with various aspects of the platform. Let's break down some of the key ones, shall we? Firstly, we have the workers resource. This allows developers to manage worker information such as personal details, employment history, and job assignments. For example, you can use this endpoint to retrieve details about an employee's position or update their contact information. Moving on to organizations, this resource enables the handling of organizational structures within Workday. You can use it to retrieve information about departments, teams, or reporting hierarchies. For instance, you might need to fetch details about a specific department's manager or its subunits. Next up, we have positions. This resource is particularly useful for managing job positions within your organization. You can use it to create new positions, update existing ones, or retrieve details about specific roles. For example, you might need to fetch the requirements for a particular job position or update its salary range. Absences is another important resource, especially for managing leave records. With this endpoint, you can retrieve information about employee absences, such as sick leave or vacation days. For instance, you might need to query absences for a specific employee or update their leave balance. Moving along, we have compensation. This resource allows you to manage pay-related data within Workday. You can use it to retrieve details about employee compensation packages, update salary information, or perform salary calculations. For example, you might need to fetch the total compensation for an employee or adjust their bonus amount. Payroll is another key resource, particularly for retrieving payroll information from Workday. This endpoint provides access to details such as pay stubs, tax withholdings, or direct deposit information. For instance, you might need to fetch a specific employee's payroll records or generate payroll reports for a particular period. Lastly, we have recruiting. This resource is essential for managing hiring processes within Workday. You can use it to create job requisitions, manage candidate applications, or schedule interviews. For example, you might need to fetch details about a job opening or update the status of a candidate's application. Developers looking to integrate with Workday can consult the platform's API documentation for more information on these resources and endpoints. It provides detailed guidance on how to interact with each API, including authentication, request parameters, and response formats. The Workday's REST API offers a wide range of resources to support various integration needs. With these resources and endpoints, developers can seamlessly integrate Workday functionality into their applications, enhancing efficiency and streamlining processes. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle error logging and monitoring when using the Workday REST API? Error logging and monitoring are like the guardians of stability when it comes to applications utilizing the Workday REST API. Let's break down how we handle them. First and foremost, implementing robust logging is key. This means capturing every detail of API interactions and any errors encountered along the way. For instance, let's say we have an application that pulls employee data from Workday using the REST API. If there's a hiccup in the process, detailed logging will record what went wrong, where, and why. Next up, using monitoring tools is essential. These tools keep a watchful eye on the performance of the API and flag any anomalies or errors that arise. Imagine you're managing a system that integrates with Workday for payroll processing. Monitoring tools will alert you if there's a sudden spike in response times or if certain requests start failing unexpectedly. Lastly, setting up alert systems is crucial for swift action. When critical errors occur, you want your team to be notified immediately so they can jump into action and resolve the issue. For example, let's say your application relies heavily on data from Workday for scheduling shifts. If there's an error retrieving that data, an alert system would notify the scheduling team promptly to prevent disruptions. And error logging and monitoring play a vital role in maintaining stability and reliability when working with the Workday REST API. By implementing strong logging, using monitoring tools, and setting up alert systems, you can ensure that your applications run smoothly and any issues are addressed promptly. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle API versioning and backward compatibility in the Workday REST API? API versioning and backward compatibility are key aspects of working with the Workday REST API. Let's break it down. Workday employs a straightforward approach to API versioning. Each API is assigned a version number, which is included in the URL when accessing it. This ensures that developers can specify which version of the API they intend to use. For example, let's say we're accessing the employee's endpoint of the Workday API. The URL might look something like this: https://api.workday.com v2 employees. Here, v2 denotes the version of the API being accessed. Now, when a new version of the API is released, Workday provides detailed release notes and migration guides. These resources help developers understand any changes or updates introduced in the new version. Imagine a scenario where Workday releases version 3 of the API. Developers can refer to the release notes to learn about any new features, deprecated endpoints, or changes in behavior. Developers must design their applications to manage various API versions effectively. This involves ensuring backward compatibility with existing integrations. Let's say a company has integrated their HR system with Workday using version 2 of the API. If they decide to upgrade to version 3, their application should still function smoothly without any major disruptions. However, it's important to note that migration to newer versions should be done judiciously. While backward compatibility helps mitigate risks, there may be instances where upgrading to a newer version is necessary to leverage new features or improvements. For instance, if version 2 of the API is deprecated and no longer supported by Workday, developers will need to migrate their applications to a newer version to ensure continued functionality. Managing API versioning and backward compatibility is essential for seamless integration with the Workday REST API. By following best practices and staying informed about API updates, developers can ensure their applications remain robust and up to date. Let's look at the next question. What are the security best practices when using the Workday REST API? When it comes to using the Workday REST API securely, there are several key practices to keep in mind. Let's break them down. Firstly, it's crucial to use HTTPS for encrypted traffic. This ensures that data transmitted between your application and the Workday API is encrypted, protecting it from interception by malicious actors. For example, imagine you're retrieving sensitive employee data from Workday. Using HTTPS ensures that this data remains confidential as it travels over the network. Next, authentication and authorization using OAuth 2.0 are essential. This protocol allows your application to securely access Workday resources on behalf of users while ensuring that only authorized users can access specific data. Consider a scenario where an HR system needs to retrieve employee information from Workday. OAuth 2.0 ensures that only authenticated users with the necessary permissions can access this data. Validating user input is another important aspect of security. By validating input data, you can prevent common attacks, such as SQL injection or cross-site scripting. Imagine a scenario where a user submits a malicious script through a form in your application. Input validation ensures that this script is detected and blocked, preventing potential damage. Implementing rate limiting is also crucial to prevent denial of service attacks. By limiting the number of requests that can be made to the Workday API within a certain time frame, you can protect against excessive traffic that could overwhelm your system. For instance, if an attacker attempts to flood your application with a large number of requests, rate limiting helps to mitigate the impact by throttling the number of requests allowed. Securely storing API credentials is paramount. This means avoiding hard coding credentials in your application code and instead using secure storage mechanisms such as environment variables or a dedicated secrets management solution. Regularly updating libraries for security is another essential practice. This ensures that any vulnerabilities in third-party libraries used by your application are patched promptly, reducing the risk of exploitation. Lastly, conducting security audits and penetration testing helps to identify and address potential vulnerabilities proactively. By regularly assessing your application's security posture, you can stay ahead of emerging threats and ensure ongoing protection. Ensuring the security of Workday REST API usage requires a comprehensive approach. By following these best practices, organizations can mitigate risks and safeguard their data when integrating with the Workday platform. Let's look at the next question. What are the best practices for error handling and retry mechanisms in the Workday REST API? Managing errors and retries effectively is crucial when working with the Workday REST API to ensure smooth operations and minimize disruptions. Let's dive into some best practices, shall we? Firstly, it's important to handle and log error responses from the Workday REST API. This involves capturing detailed information about any errors encountered during API calls, such as error codes, descriptions, and timestamps. For example, if a request to retrieve employee data fails due to authentication issues, the system should log this error along with relevant details for troubleshooting and auditing purposes. Next, using exponential backoff for retries is essential to manage transient errors and network issues. Instead of retrying immediately after a failure, this approach gradually increases the wait time between retries, giving the system time to recover. Imagine if a request to update employee records fails due to a temporary network outage. With exponential backoff, the system will retry the request after waiting for an exponentially increasing duration, increasing the likelihood of success. Setting timeouts for API requests is another best practice. By defining a maximum duration for API calls, you prevent long-running or hung requests from impacting system performance. For instance, if a request to retrieve large amounts of data takes longer than expected, setting a timeout ensures that the request is aborted to free up resources and prevent potential bottlenecks. Implementing retry logic for rate limiting and throttling errors is crucial to ensure continuous operation. When the API imposes limits on the number of requests per minute, retries can help manage these limitations effectively. Consider a scenario where a system exceeds the rate limit while fetching employee data. By implementing retry logic, the system can automatically retry the request after a short delay, avoiding service disruptions. Providing clear error messages to users for API errors is essential for effective communication and troubleshooting. Error messages should be informative, concise, and actionable, guiding users on how to resolve the issue. Imagine a scenario where a user encounters an error while updating payroll information. A clear error message indicating the cause of the issue and possible solutions can help the user resolve the issue quickly. Applying circuit breaker patterns is another best practice to prevent system overload. This involves monitoring API performance and temporarily halting requests to a failing service to prevent cascading failures. For example, if repeated attempts to access employee data result in consecutive failures, the circuit breaker pattern can intervene by temporarily blocking further requests, allowing the system to recover. Lastly, monitoring and analyzing error logs regularly is crucial for issue resolution and performance optimization. By reviewing error logs, you can identify recurring issues, trends, and areas for improvement. Think of it as proactive maintenance, where insights from error logs drive continuous enhancements to the system's reliability and efficiency. And effective error handling and retry mechanisms are essential for ensuring the reliability of the Workday REST API integration. By following these best practices, organizations can minimize disruptions and ensure smooth operations when working with the Workday REST API. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle pagination and filtering in the Workday REST API? Pagination and filtering are crucial when dealing with large data sets in the Workday REST API. Let's dive into how they function and why they're essential. To start with pagination, Workday's API supports parameters like page size and number. This allows developers to break down large datasets into smaller, more manageable chunks. For instance, imagine you're fetching employee records from Workday. Instead of receiving thousands of records at once, pagination lets you retrieve, say, 50 records per page, making it easier to handle and process. Now, when it comes to filtering, Workday's API offers robust capabilities. Developers can filter data based on various criteria such as date ranges or status. Let's say you want to retrieve only the employee records updated within the last month. You can apply a date range filter to fetch only the relevant data, saving time and resources. Similarly, if you're interested in employees with a specific employment status, like active or terminated, you can use status-based filtering to narrow down your results. What's noteworthy is that developers can apply these filters using query parameters. This means they can tailor their API requests to fetch precisely the data subset they need. For instance, a developer might include parameters like start date and end date in their API request to retrieve records within a specific time frame. Overall, by leveraging pagination and filtering capabilities in the Workday REST API, developers can efficiently manage large datasets, improve performance, and streamline data retrieval and processing. These features are essential for effective data management. They're key tools for developers working with Workday's API to handle vast amounts of data efficiently. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle API rate limiting and throttling in the Workday REST API? Handling API rate limiting and throttling is essential for ensuring smooth operations and preventing overload on the Workday REST API. Let's break it down. So, Workday's API comes with rate limiting and throttling mechanisms in place. Rate limiting essentially controls the number of API calls that can be made within a specific time frame. Imagine you're using the Workday API to retrieve employee data. Rate limiting would dictate how many requests you can make per minute or per hour to avoid overwhelming the system. Throttling, on the other hand, manages the processing rate of requests. It regulates how quickly Workday can process incoming requests to maintain system stability. Let's say you're updating multiple employee records simultaneously through the API. Throttling ensures that these requests are processed at a controlled pace, preventing server overload. Now, if you exceed these predefined limits, you'll encounter HTTP 429 error responses. This indicates that your request has been rejected due to exceeding the rate limit set by Workday. To handle these errors effectively, developers should implement retry and back-off strategies. Essentially, if you receive a 429 error, you should wait for a designated period before retrying the request. For instance, let's say you're integrating Workday with your HR management system and you encounter a 429 error while syncing employee data. Your application should wait for a brief interval before retrying the request to avoid further errors. Additionally, monitoring rate limiting headers provided in API responses is crucial. These headers give insights into your API usage and help in adjusting your request patterns accordingly. For example, by monitoring these headers, you can identify if you're consistently hitting rate limits during specific times of the day. This information can guide you in optimizing your API usage to avoid bottlenecks. Managing API rate limiting and throttling is essential for maintaining a stable integration with Workday. By understanding and implementing these strategies, developers can ensure smooth and efficient interactions with the Workday REST API. Let's look at the next question. What are the considerations for caching and performance optimization when using the Workday REST API? When it comes to optimizing performance with the Workday REST API, there are several key considerations to keep in mind. Let's break them down. Firstly, leveraging client-side caching can significantly reduce the number of API calls made to Workday servers. By storing frequently accessed data locally, you can minimize latency and improve overall response times. For instance, imagine an HR application fetching employee data from Workday. Instead of fetching the same data repeatedly, the application can cache it locally, reducing the need for repeated API calls. Employing HTTP caching headers is another important strategy for data transfer efficiency. By setting appropriate caching headers in API responses, you can instruct clients and intermediaries to cache responses, reducing network traffic and server load. Consider a scenario where a mobile app retrieves employee profiles from Workday. By including caching headers in the API response, you can ensure that the app caches the data locally, improving performance and reducing data usage. Optimizing API requests by selecting only the necessary fields is crucial for minimizing data transfer overhead. Instead of fetching entire records, you can specify which fields to include in the response, reducing payload size and improving response times. Imagine a scenario where a finance application needs to retrieve expense data from Workday. By requesting only the relevant fields, such as amount and date, the application can receive a more concise response, enhancing performance. Implementing parallelism for concurrent API requests can also boost performance significantly. By sending multiple requests simultaneously, you can utilize available resources more efficiently and reduce overall response times. Let's say an analytics platform needs to retrieve data from multiple Workday endpoints. By executing API requests in parallel, the platform can aggregate data more quickly, enabling faster insights. Monitoring performance metrics is essential for identifying and optimizing bottlenecks in API usage. By tracking metrics like response time and throughput, you can pinpoint areas for improvement and optimize accordingly. For instance, if an HR system experiences slow response times when fetching employee records, monitoring performance metrics can help identify the root cause, such as inefficient API calls or network latency. Lastly, applying data compression techniques can reduce API payload size, resulting in faster data transfer and improved performance. Techniques like gzip compression can significantly reduce the size of JSON payloads without sacrificing data quality. Consider a scenario where a mobile app needs to download large datasets from Workday. By compressing the API payloads, you can reduce bandwidth usage and improve the app's responsiveness. And optimizing performance with the Workday REST API requires a combination of strategies to minimize latency and maximize efficiency. By implementing these considerations, organizations can ensure that their integrations with Workday are fast, reliable, and scalable. Page 4. All right, let's test your knowledge. Here is a question for you. How are related objects retrieved when making a GET request to the Workday REST API? Option A. By default, all related objects are included. Option B. By specifying the related objects in the request URL. Option C. By using the $select query parameter. Option D. By using the $expand query parameter. Take a moment to think, and when you are ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck. Let's look at the next question. What are the best practices for API testing and validation when working with the Workday REST API? API testing and validation play a crucial role in ensuring seamless integrations with the Workday REST API. Let's dive into the best practices. Firstly, it's essential to develop comprehensive test cases covering various scenarios. This means testing different functionalities, data inputs, and error handling to ensure the API behaves as expected. For instance, let's say you're integrating Workday's API to retrieve employee information. Test cases would include scenarios like searching for specific employees, handling invalid inputs, and verifying error messages. Validating requests and responses against expected formats and schemas is another vital practice. This ensures that data exchanged between systems adheres to predefined standards, minimizing compatibility issues. Imagine you're sending a request to update employee records. Validating the response ensures that the data returned is in the correct format, such as JSON or XML, and includes all the necessary fields. Testing edge cases and boundary conditions is crucial to uncover potential vulnerabilities or unexpected behavior. This involves testing extreme values, limits, and unusual inputs to ensure the API can handle them gracefully. For example, if you're integrating a time tracking system with Workday, testing edge cases might include scenarios like entering negative time values or dates far in the past. Implementing automated testing frameworks is highly recommended for regression tests. Automation streamlines the testing process, allowing for frequent and efficient validation of API changes without manual intervention. Imagine having a suite of automated tests that run whenever a code change is made. This ensures that any modifications to the API don't inadvertently break existing functionality. conducting load and performance testing is essential, especially for high-volume integrations. This involves simulating heavy traffic to evaluate how the API performs under different load conditions. For instance, if you're integrating a payroll system with Workday, load testing helps determine how well the API handles simultaneous requests from thousands of employees during payroll processing. Performing security testing is critical to identify and mitigate potential vulnerabilities. This includes testing for common security threats like SQL injection, cross-site scripting XSS, and authentication bypass. Collaborating with Workday API support is invaluable for resolving issues promptly. If you encounter any challenges or unexpected behavior, reaching out to Workday's support team can help expedite the resolution process. It's evident that thorough API testing and validation are essential for successful integrations with the Workday REST API. By following these best practices, organizations can ensure the reliability, security, and performance of their Workday API integrations. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle API documentation and developer onboarding when working with the Workday REST API? When it comes to integrating with the Workday REST API, having clear documentation is key. Let's explore some best practices. Firstly, Workday offers comprehensive documentation that covers everything developers need to know. This includes details on endpoints, authentication methods, and how to use the API effectively. Imagine you're a developer tasked with integrating your company's HR system with Workday. By reviewing the documentation provided by Workday, you gain a clear understanding of how to authenticate requests and access employee data. It's essential for developers to thoroughly review the documentation before diving into integration work. This ensures they have a solid understanding of the resources available and how to interact with them. For instance, if you're building an application that needs to retrieve employee information from Workday, understanding the structure of API endpoints and the parameters required for querying data is crucial. Developer portals and forums also play a vital role in supporting developers during the onboarding process. These platforms provide additional resources such as tutorials, code samples, and community forums where developers can ask questions and share insights. Let's say you encounter a roadblock while integrating with the Workday API. By visiting the developer portal or forum, you can often find solutions to common issues or seek assistance from fellow developers. Clear documentation accompanied by sampler code can significantly aid in the integration process. Having access to example requests and responses helps developers understand how to structure their own API calls effectively. For example, Workday might provide sample code snippets demonstrating how to authenticate a request using OAuth 2.0 or how to retrieve specific data fields from an employee record. It's evident that clear documentation and support resources are essential for developers working with the Workday REST API. With the right documentation and support in place, developers can integrate with the Workday API smoothly and efficiently, enabling seamless interactions with HR data. Let's look at the next question. What are the considerations for API versioning and compatibility when integrating with the Workday REST API? When integrating with the Workday REST API, it's crucial to pay close attention to API versioning and compatibility to ensure smooth operations and minimize disruptions. Let's explore some key considerations in detail. Workday employs a versioning scheme in the API URL to specify different versions. This allows developers to choose the appropriate version for their integration needs. For instance, let's say a developer is integrating an HR system with Workday. They would specify the API version in the URL to ensure compatibility with the endpoints they're using. Developers also receive detailed release notes and migration guides for new API versions. These resources provide valuable information on changes, deprecations, and any backward incompatible modifications. Imagine a scenario where Workday releases a new API version with updated authentication requirements. Developers would refer to the migration guide to understand how to adapt their applications accordingly. Applications should be designed to handle different API versions gracefully. This involves writing flexible code that can accommodate changes without breaking existing functionality. Consider a situation where an e-commerce platform integrates with Workday for inventory management. The platform must be able to seamlessly switch between API versions to ensure uninterrupted service. Maintaining backward compatibility is paramount. This means ensuring that newer versions of the API don't break functionality for applications built on older versions. Thorough testing is essential to identify and address compatibility issues. Developers should test their integrations against different API versions to ensure compatibility across the board. Clear communication of compatibility issues is also critical. Developers should document any known compatibility constraints and communicate them to stakeholders to manage expectations. Lastly, having migration plans in place is vital. This involves outlining a structured approach for migrating from older to newer API versions, including timelines and rollback procedures if needed. Careful planning and attention to detail are essential when integrating with the Workday REST API. By prioritizing API versioning and compatibility, organizations can ensure seamless integration with Workday and maximize the value of their investments. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle rate limiting and API throttling in the Workday REST API? Handling rate limiting and API throttling is essential for maintaining stability and reliability when interacting with the Workday REST API. Let's break it down. Firstly, Workday REST API implements rate limiting and throttling mechanisms. Rate limiting sets a cap on the number of API calls that can be made within a specific time window. This prevents overwhelming the system with too many requests at once. Imagine you're developing an application that retrieves employee data from Workday. Rate limiting ensures that your application doesn't flood the server with requests, which could cause it to become unresponsive or slow. Throttling, on the other hand, regulates the processing rate of requests. It controls how quickly the server processes incoming requests, preventing it from being overloaded and ensuring a consistent level of performance. For example, let's say your application needs to fetch a large amount of data from Workday. Throttling ensures that the server processes these requests at a manageable pace, avoiding strain on the system. Now, if you exceed the predefined limits set by Workday, you'll receive error responses, typically in the form of an HTTP status code 429, indicating that you've reached the API's rate limit or throttling threshold. When faced with such errors, developers are advised to implement retry and back-off strategies. This means that if your request is rejected due to rate limiting or throttling, your application should wait for a short period before retrying the request. Let's say you encounter a rate limit error when fetching data from Workday. Instead of immediately retrying the request, your application can wait for a few seconds or minutes before trying again. This reduces the likelihood of hitting the limit repeatedly. Managing rate limiting and API throttling in the Workday REST API involves respecting predefined limits, implementing retry and back-off strategies, and ensuring a consistent and reliable experience for both developers and end users. It's crucial for developers to understand how to navigate rate limiting and throttling to ensure smooth interactions with the Workday REST API. By following best practices and being mindful of API limits, developers can build robust and resilient applications that integrate seamlessly with Workday. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle API authentication and authorization in a secure manner when using the Workday REST API? API authentication and authorization are paramount when it comes to safeguarding sensitive data and ensuring only authorized users can access it. Let's dive into how we handle this securely. Firstly, understanding the importance of API authentication and authorization cannot be overstated. With Workday dealing with sensitive HR and financial data, unauthorized access can have significant consequences. It's like having a locked vault for your valuable information. Now, Workday supports various authentication methods, but the recommended approach is OAuth 2.0. OAuth 2.0 provides a robust framework for secure authorization, ensuring that only authenticated users can access protected resources. Let's break down some best practices for secure handling. Implementing proper authorization is key. This involves assigning appropriate permissions to users or applications based on their roles and responsibilities. For instance, a manager might have access to employee performance data, while a payroll administrator might have access to salary information. By properly configuring authorization, you prevent unauthorized access to sensitive data. Additionally, maintenance is crucial for ongoing security. Regularly review and update access controls, revoke access for users who no longer need it, and monitor API usage for any suspicious activity. Think of it as regularly changing the locks on your doors and keeping a close eye on who has the keys. By staying proactive with maintenance, you reduce the risk of unauthorized access and data breaches. Ensuring secure access to sensitive data is paramount. With the right authentication and authorization mechanisms in place, organizations can confidently leverage the power of the Workday REST API while safeguarding their valuable information. Let's look at the next question. What are the best practices for handling sensitive data and compliance requirements when using the Workday REST API? When it comes to handling sensitive data and meeting compliance standards with the Workday REST API, there are several key practices to keep in mind. Let's break them down. First and foremost, it's crucial to adhere to data protection regulations such as GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, and HIPAA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. These regulations set standards for the handling of personal and sensitive information. For example, let's say a healthcare organization is using the Workday REST API to access employee healthcare data. Adhering to HIPAA ensures that this data is handled securely and in compliance with patient privacy laws. Implementing robust security measures is also essential. This includes encrypting data both in transit and at rest to prevent unauthorized access. Imagine a scenario where employee salary information is transmitted over the network. Encrypting this data ensures that even if intercepted, it remains unreadable to unauthorized parties. Using secure communication protocols like HTTPS adds another layer of protection. HTTPS encrypts data during transmission, safeguarding it from interception or tampering. Implementing access controls and auditing mechanisms helps monitor and regulate access to sensitive data. This ensures that only authorized individuals can view or manipulate the data, reducing the risk of breaches. Let's say a financial institution is using the Workday REST API to access employee payroll data. Access controls ensure that only HR personnel have permission to view or modify this information. Complying with Workday's data retention and purge policies is crucial for managing data effectively and in accordance with regulatory requirements. For instance, if Workday specifies a data retention period for employee records, organizations must ensure that data is kept for the required duration and properly disposed of once no longer needed. Regular security assessments, penetration testing, and compliance audits are vital for identifying and addressing vulnerabilities or compliance gaps. These assessments help organizations stay ahead of potential threats and ensure that their systems and processes remain secure and compliant over time. Maintaining data security and compliance with the Workday REST API requires a proactive approach. By following these best practices, organizations can effectively safeguard sensitive data and meet regulatory requirements while leveraging the power of the Workday REST API. Let's look at the next question. How do you handle API performance monitoring and optimization when working with the Workday REST API? API performance monitoring and optimization are crucial aspects of integrating with the Workday REST API to ensure smooth operations and efficient data exchange. Let's dive into some best practices. Firstly, it's essential to implement monitoring tools to track various metrics such as response times, error rates, and throughput. These tools provide visibility into how the API is performing and help identify any potential issues. For example, let's say a company has integrated their HR system with Workday using the REST API. Monitoring tools would allow them to track how quickly requests are processed and if there's an increase in error rates during peak usage times. Regular analysis of these metrics is equally important. By analyzing the data collected from monitoring tools, you can identify bottlenecks and inefficiencies in the API integration. Imagine a scenario where response times are consistently slow during certain times of the day. Through analysis, you may discover that a particular API endpoint is experiencing heavy traffic, leading to performance issues. Optimization techniques play a significant role in improving API performance. These techniques include catching frequently accessed data, reducing unnecessary data transfers, and implementing parallel processing where applicable. Consider a situation where an application frequently retrieves employee data from Workday. By catching this data locally, subsequent requests for the same information can be served much faster, reducing the load on the Workday API. Additionally, optimizing data transfer by only sending the necessary information in API requests can help minimize latency and improve overall performance. Collaborating with Workday API support is another valuable strategy. Workday provides resources and guidance on best practices for API integration, including performance recommendations and troubleshooting assistance. Effective API performance monitoring and optimization involve implementing monitoring tools, analyzing metrics, employing optimization techniques, and leveraging support resources from Workday. Monitoring and optimizing API performance are essential for a seamless integration with the Workday REST API. With the right approach, organizations can ensure that their systems work efficiently and effectively with Workday. Let's look at the next question. What is the role of the Workday API Explorer and how does it help developers? The Workday API Explorer serves as a valuable tool for developers working with the Workday REST API. Let's unpack its role and functionalities, shall we? Firstly, it's important to understand that the Workday API Explorer is a web-based tool. This means developers can access it directly from their browsers without any additional software installation. Now, let's talk about its interactive documentation and testing capabilities. The API Explorer provides detailed documentation on Workday's API resources, making it easier for developers to understand how to interact with them. Imagine you're a developer tasked with integrating Workday's HR functionality into your company's internal system. The API Explorer allows you to explore the available resources, such as employee data or time-off requests, and understand their parameters and endpoints. Additionally, developers can make test calls directly within the API Explorer. This means you can experiment with different API requests and see the responses in real time. For instance, let's say you're testing a request to retrieve employee information. By making test calls in the API Explorer, you can verify that you're getting the correct data and troubleshoot any issues before implementing it in your application. Another crucial aspect of the API Explorer is its ability to help developers understand the structure of Workday's API. By exploring API resources and viewing schemas, developers gain insights into how data is organized and how to interact with it programmatically. Consider a scenario where a developer needs to fetch organizational hierarchy data from Workday. By using the API Explorer to view the schema and make test calls, they can quickly grasp the structure of the data and incorporate it into their application seamlessly. The Workday API Explorer plays a pivotal role in assisting developers throughout the development process. It provides interactive documentation, testing capabilities, and insights into API structure, empowering developers to understand, experiment, and troubleshoot effectively. It's clear how it can streamline the development process for integrating Workday's functionality into various applications. With the Workday API Explorer, developers have a powerful tool at their disposal to accelerate development and ensure seamless integration with Workday's platform. Let's look at the next question. How do you stay up to date with the latest updates, features, and best practices related to the Workday REST API? Staying up to date with the latest updates and best practices related to the Workday REST API is crucial for developers to ensure they're leveraging its full potential. Let's explore some valuable resources that developers can tap into for staying informed. Firstly, the Workday community serves as an interactive platform where developers can engage with experts, ask questions, and learn from the experiences of others in the field. For instance, imagine a developer encounters a roadblock while implementing a specific feature using the Workday REST API. By posting a question on the Workday community, they can receive insights and solutions from fellow developers or Workday experts. The Workday Developer Portal is another invaluable resource. Here, developers can access comprehensive API documentation, release notes, and guidance to navigate through various functionalities of the Workday REST API. Imagine a developer is exploring a new feature introduced in the latest Workday release. They can refer to the developer portal to understand the changes, explore code samples, and ensure seamless integration into their applications. Additionally, the Workday blog provides regular updates and insights into the latest features, enhancements, and best practices related to the Workday platform and its APIs. Let's say a developer wants to stay informed about upcoming changes in Workday's API security policies. They can follow the Workday blog to receive timely updates and recommendations for maintaining compliance. Attending Workday developer events, such as webinars and conferences, is another effective way to stay abreast of advancements and trends in the Workday ecosystem. Consider a scenario where a developer is keen on exploring advanced integration techniques using Workday's API. By attending a webinar focused on integration strategies, they can gain valuable insights and practical tips from industry experts. Furthermore, the Workday Partner Network offers developers opportunities to connect with seasoned experts and mentors who can provide guidance and support throughout their journey with Workday APIs. Imagine a developer is embarking on a complex integration project involving multiple Workday modules. Through the partner network, they can collaborate with experienced consultants who offer specialized expertise and insights. Last but not least, continuous learning is key. Developers can invest in online courses, tutorials, and hands-on practice to enhance their skills and stay ahead of the curve in Workday API development. For instance, a developer interested in mastering Workday's reporting capabilities via its REST API can enroll in an online course that covers advanced querying techniques and report customization. It's evident that staying updated with the latest in Workday REST API is a multifaceted endeavor. With the plethora of resources available, developers can stay informed and continuously elevate their proficiency in leveraging Workday's API capabilities. Attention all tech enthusiasts! Are you eager to unlock the power of Workday's REST API? Look no further. Our comprehensive Workday REST API course is here to equip you with the skills you need to master this powerful tool. In this self-paced course, you will delve into the intricacies of Workday's REST API, unlocking a world of seamless integration and automation possibilities. From creating and updating records to retrieving data and executing complex business processes, our course covers it all. Our expert instructors have meticulously crafted a curriculum that combines theoretical knowledge with hands-on exercises, ensuring you gain practical experience every step of the way. Whether you're a developer, an IT professional, or simply someone looking to streamline your organization's workflows, this course is tailored to your needs. But don't just take our word for it. Our satisfied students rave about the clarity of our explanations, the depth of our content, and the invaluable insights they've gained through this course. Invest in your professional growth today and gain a competitive edge in the ever-evolving world of HR technology. Our course offers unbeatable value, providing you with a comprehensive learning experience at an affordable price. Visit Zarantech's website below for full details on the training, including course outline, instructor profiles, and pricing information. Unlock the power of Workday's REST API and take your skills to new heights.